Welcome back to Colors Are Crutch. My name is Max Sternberg, also known as Wounded Satellite, joined by my usual amazing, beautiful, on a journey co-host, Max P, the Florian guy. I want you to go back to Florian. Please start playing Florian again. But we got another guy with us today to go over this awesome set review. Probably the best artist in the CEDH community, at least everyone's favorite artist in the CEDH community.
I'd rather be the favorite than the best.
We would have been the favorite than the best. We got GoldSabertooth with us today on the channel, ready to go. People know him for his art, but they also don't realize he is a banging ass CEDH player who be taking down shit too. No, you're awesome. I played with you. You're great. I remember our first ever game together was round 7 at Punt City, and you know, I know Ian, I know NATO, and immediately a couple people were like, "Get ready for Saber. He is good." And I was like, "Cool, let's get it."
Yeah. Well, I just it was a really fun game to play. It was wild. High stakes,
dude. Tim, you're one of my favorite human beings in CEDH. Period. You know, I first met Tim at Silicon Dynasty, the original Silicon Dynasty, back in 2023, January 2023, something like that.
I don't know.
It felt like a long time ago, but you know, we met in the lobby con. We got to hang out and talk a little bit. Saw his amazing art for the first time, you know, and like at that point, like I was trying to get a podcast started, and you know, we had been talking up to that, and he actually put together the first logo for my first attempt at a podcast.
The Kiki Jiki playing poker looking one?
It was called, we called it Table of the Mirror Breakers, and the art he did for it was fantastic, dude. It was so cool. I'll put it like on screen so you guys can see it like while we're talking about it.
And I do want to show off what I got in the mail last night.
Go ahead.
Nadu!
Yeah.
Dude.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah,
dude. I wasn't gonna sell it because I wanted to make my own Nadu, but on drawing Nadu as like Thoth, kind of one of my favorite Egyptian gods.
But
I mean, you posted on Twitter, and I messaged you in that.
Yeah, you were like,
I was like,
6 minutes.
Is that for sale? I was like,
sure.
Yeah. And when we do our next playmat for Colors Are Crutch, I think Tim, we're gonna have to we have to make that happen. And the other thing about Tim was, you know, I'll never forget it. You know, I went to Silicon Dynasty, and I really wanted to do well. I was playing Florian. I had top 16 at Punt City before that, Punt City 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I really got to do well. I got to do well. And I bubbled out. Like I lost my winning in and did not make top 16. And you know, I was in tears. I was so emotional. And Tim just literally held me while I cried. You know, like, and he's like, you know, and he gave me the talk. He's like, if you know, this shows that you're a winner because you want to win, and the fact that you feel this strongly about it means you're going to come back. And you know, he was right. You know, like, and every time I have a bad showing, you know, his words are echo in my head. So you know, I love you forever, man.
I love you too, man. I appreciate that. I remember that specifically because, you know, it's like everyone likes to win, but winners hate to lose. And if you are passionate about something and you hate losing, I hate losing. I can't have fun. I'm a menace. My wife, coworkers wanted to play like Catan one night, and I was like, 4 weeks for that. Oh, deal. Don't deal with her. I'm like, do you see how many pieces she's got? She's going to get longest row. And I was like, my wife's like, you can't chill out, dude. Like, you're now.
Yeah. I used to play Scrabble with my wife. I can't anymore. I can't play Scrabble with my wife anymore. We can't play Rummy anymore. Like, it's all over.
I refuse Monopoly. I do not play Monopoly with my friends anymore. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it, dude.
Can't be chill. I know what it's like.
Can't be chill, dude. Can't do it. Yep. I got to ask, though. So I held you while you cried once before. Did Tim also have to stand up on a chair?
No, dude. Tim's you know,
Tim just
gave me a hug. Just wrapped his arms around me and held me like a baby. It was amazing. But yeah, but no, we're this is gonna be a fun episode. This is gonna be a deep one. We're gonna take our time. So we're doing the set review for Modern Horizons 3. And it's a pretty groundbreaking set, not gonna lie. There's a lot of cards in here that are gonna change everything, and we're not gonna rush. Like, we're gonna take our time. We're gonna look card by card at the ones that Max put on a list, and we're gonna talk about them. And
I'm on a time schedule for a change.
Too bad. Get comfortable. We're gonna be here. You know.
Going over the dirty laundry real quick, though. Thank you guys so much for listening to the channel. If you enjoy our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support us even more, we do have a Patreon. You can find a link to that description below. We also have a Discord if you want to join the conversation outside of YouTube. Also, I offer CEDH coaching. If that's something that interests you, please hit me up on Discord or Twitter, both as Wounded Satellite. And our giveaway, this is going to be the last week that you can enter. If you go back a couple videos, you'll see the 2,000 subscriber giveaway video. Go watch that, figure out how to enter it, comment the things you got to comment. We will have a winner by the next episode's release.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Excellent.
So the way we're going to jump right into it. The way we do this thing, Tim, is like you're the guest of honor, so you get to start right away from the top, and we're just going to go card by card and talk about what we see. So you're first.
And the only thing,
thank
you. The thing I want to say, this is my college professor hat coming on. Is that like just context? So MH3, this is a straight to modern set. Usually has greater implications for eternal formats. They're not worried about power nerfing for standard. The first two, just so we have like a baseline, so we have some way to evaluate this. They gave us I'd say like 10 solid cards, like 15 if you squint right, cards that came into the CEDH format, I would say.
Yeah.
So just so we have an idea, you know what I mean? Like maybe only like 3 groundbreaking cards. Like the first Modern Horizons gave us maybe a little more. Second set, mostly just like Esper Sentinel, Ragavan, Dothy.
Right.
First set gave us a lot because it gave us Enemy Talismans, Ceesay,
Force of Negation,
Force of Neg, and Ranger Cap. So that gave us way more, I think.
Yeah.
But still, we're always
Urza.
Yeah, Urza, Yogg, some stuff in like the niche range. Will have to be some more filler. But just when I was glancing at this set, the list you gave me last night, Max, I was looking at it and I was like, there seems like a lot more. I could be wrong, but it seems like a lot more than before where I was like, oh, this is a Yuriko card or something. I think there's like a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
So actually, one of the things I really like about this set is I don't think it's filled with a ton of cards that are generically I'm playing this in every deck because it's just such a powerful card. I think there are a lot of cards that are for sure going to see play in specific archetypes and decks.
100%.
And I really like that. And I think that's very cool and good for the format. One of the things we've seen recently is the rise of Magda. And when we've talked about the rise of Magda, is Magda's been getting all of these cards lately from the last few sets that are specifically only good in Magda. So they increase the power level of Magda while not increasing the power level of the rest of the format. And that's what allows the format to change and have these ebbs and flows and what decks are actually doing well, rather than just generically powerful card that Blue Farm gets to play. Blue Farm gets better too.
I agree.
And I think that this is a great set that's going to change up a lot of things because there's a lot of cards where it's like, this is so good in this deck, but it's not good everywhere.
Yeah, although going back to what Tim was saying, if you look at it in context, right, there are a lot of cards in this set that are good in almost every deck, right? And there's more than you'd think. It's still a handful. Like it's not like we have a dozen cards that are good in every deck, but we have a handful of cards that are going to get play in most decks and are going to become staples in the format. And I think that's pretty huge. Grant you the ratio between those cards and cards that fit into very specific decks is big, but there's still a good number of cards that are going to become staples.
Yeah, I agree. So let's take it away, and then I think the first card we got is a Ajani Nacatl Pariah. It's the first of the flip walkers. So we've had flip planeswalkers before. Where by that I mean it's a creature on one side, reverse side it's a planeswalker. But now we're getting a cycle of enemy colored. So we're starting with Boros. And I'll read the card. It's a 1 and a white, legendary creature, cat warrior. Warrior is an interesting card type. Creature type. It's a 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/1 cat warrior. So a 2/1 and a 1/2 for 2. I mean, not for CEDH standards, but just like Magic standards. That's like a pretty wild rate, actually, for 2 bodies. It's got to be one of the best rates for 2 bodies, I think. Whenever 1 or more other cats you control die, you may exile this and then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. And you flip it. It's a Boros Planeswalker. It starts out with 3 loyalty. The +2, you put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. 0, you're going to create a 2/1 cat warrior token. When you do, if you control a red permanent, which if you're playing this card, you're probably going to control a red permanent. It deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. That's cool too. Any target's cool too.
Yeah.
Each opponent choose, and then the neg 4. So I guess you'd say like the ult of this. Although interestingly enough, if you plus this, you can like quote unquote ult it without it dying. Each opponent chooses an artifact, creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from the permanents they control and sack the rest, which is like a cataclysm for some reason. Or so,
but an asymmetrical cataclysm, you don't pick yourself.
Oh yeah, it's got an asymmetrical cataclysm as a neg 4 for some reason. It's one of these things where, before I kick it over to you guys, is that like before I even think about what deck this belongs in. The amount of value and stats that have been just like smashed into a 2-mana creature are like bananas. Like it's just so much for a 2-mana creature.
Yeah.
No, it really does. I mean, there's really only one deck that this sees immediate play in my mind, and that's a mid-range Najeela shell. Mm-hmm. The concept of being able to say turn 1 Ajani into turn 2 Najeela and immediately swing with both Ajani and the token it makes, which the token it makes is also listed as a warrior. Immediately getting to ramp out that type of warrior token production gets you into, the next turn I immediately am ready to Derevi and ready to win the game. Yeah. It really sets you up in that shell. And then it has this incredible value engine for a mid-range game plan where, you killed my cat token. Congratulations. Now I have a token maker that makes repeatedly warriors for me as well, and something that will repeatedly remove any other problems for me on the board and allow me to have board control and take over the game.
Well,
I think it's very, very good in a mid-range Najeela shell.
Does this make Ren and Siri a CDH viable deck?
I don't know.
No.
But
no.
I don't know.
I think that's the cat dog deck. My son has one, but no, it's not really CDH.
If it was partnered,
I don't know. I don't love this card. I think it's fine. It seems totally fine. It doesn't seem completely that crazy. I mean, like maybe at some point there's an archetype that runs a lot more Clasms than we're running right now, and this is really good in a deck that runs a lot of Wraths because you're going to kill your own cat and go off from there, which seems pretty cool.
True.
But I don't love this card. I think it's
Max P. Would you run if Winota? Is this a Winota card or no? Would you think Winota players would play it? Just too expensive.
No. If it put plus, I think if it said put +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, then it would be better. But the fact that it has to be on cats makes it pretty limited, I think. So I don't know. I don't see it.
I think it's just Bant Warriors.
I think this gets played in this gets played in Jetmir. Maybe Jetmir wants this. I don't know.
Jetmir is an option. Actually, Jetmir is potentially, though Jetmir just tends to like their creatures on board to be stacks effects.
Yes.
Like they want every single thing that they're putting down to be a creature on board and something that hinders opponents.
Yes.
Like I think the only card that this inherently breaks value parity with CEDH is just cool. Bant Warriors, ramp out that type of token plan, get started and ready to go, have mid-range backup plan of removal.
Yeah. But okay, but moving on from Ajani into a card that kind of plays with Ajani nicely, the next card, and I'll do this one real quick.
Yeah,
is Flare of Fortitude, and we've talked about the flares a little bit before, but let's talk about them again, because in the context of the rest of the set. So Flare of Fortitude is a instant, costs white, and 2, and it says you may sacrifice a non-token white creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost, and until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So, if you have a non-token cat, you could use Flare of Fortitude, sack it, and do this if you wanted to, and make everything indestructible to a Wrath, that kind of thing. But really, I think what Flare of Fortitude is built for is Adnaz from a CDH perspective, right? Because it works just like an Angel's Grace for Adnaz. I sack my Tymna, cast Adnaz, and now my life total can't change. So I can put my whole deck in my hand with an Adnaz, which is pretty hot. And then in a pinch, I can use it to protect all of my permanents, which is pretty good. Pretty good. I don't know if it's going to see, I don't think this is going to become a staple. But I think we're going to see a fair amount of it because you do hit a little bit better critical mass in terms of having both Angel's Grace and Flare of Fortitude in the deck with Adnaz. So it becomes a little bit more of a viable plan at that point. What do you guys think?
I think when you get towards low color Orzhov style decks, you'll see the Angel's Grace Adnaz playing a lot more. I think that's really good there. And then I think you'll see this as a level of protection spell in decks like Elevir, maybe decks like Jetmir. Something that is just simple to protect their board state and also make sure that they don't get clapbacked as they are attacking.
Yeah, and I do think I could say quite assuredly this is the first free mass protection spell we've ever gotten. So we don't really have a baseline for this. I mean, like, we know as CDH players, the difference between 1 mana and free is the difference between like 1 mana and 5 mana. Like, free is everything. You know, when people, there's a card we'll talk about later where people are like, well, why do you want this if you're not playing Abjure or something? But like, this is free.
Yeah.
And like, there's decks that run Surge of Salvation. You know what I mean? There's decks that run these 1 mana versions of some kind. And this is free. I mean, this is free. So I don't know what the implications are of this. I'm not currently playing any decks that would play this. I'm curious. I'm curious what decks would want a free effect, but it is interesting. It's super cool to have a free mass protection spell.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good card. I think it will see some play, and you know, it may even become. This is one of those cards that may become even more relevant, you know, going forward, because you'll get cards that come out that say, you know, pay a whole bunch of life, do X, and all of a sudden this, you know, lets you protect yourself from that kind of thing. Well, it has to be damage. It can't be paid life.
You can't
be paid life.
But
you know, necro.
Yeah, but you can do
but
like.
If you really want your Wheel of Misfortune to make sure you get the wheel, you can do this and then pay 10 trillion land to it, and it works.
Yeah, but there is a card later, I believe that. Oh no, it doesn't work. It's pay life. Yeah, never mind. But there are there's lots of effects that say take X damage and then do X, and this is. Yeah.
I think this is what like Obscuring Haze or the other one in Unbreakable Formation or whatever, I forget what it was called, the free spell cycle should have done, because like the fact that like they gain Hexproof Indestructible is huge. Like the other one like didn't give them Hex. I can't remember. It was one of them. It didn't.
It was a fog. It was just
one was a fog, and the other one.
Oh yeah. So the white one was indestructible, and the green one was a fog.
But they should have given Hexproof and Indestructible. That's really what it is. Because in our format, like Hexproof is everything. Like the spells we play are exile based. You know what I mean? It's like it's a kind of miss.
Before we move on from this one, I just want to point out one last thing, and that is, why does Wizards hate green so much? Why isn't this a green card? Why couldn't they?
Okay,
like seriously,
yo, green is bumping the set. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude.
Green is this does feel like heroic intervention, doesn't it? You know,
it should be a green card. It should be a green card, and green deserves some busted cards.
Hey, we got to cultivate for free.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So Wizards hates green yet again. But go ahead.
Red gets another copy, blue gets a counter, white gets protection.
You cultivate. We're not cultivating.
Which, funny enough, is actually people think it is the best one in Modern, which is very funny.
Wow. Aspiring Spike thinks it's the best one in Modern.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Eventually we'll get to the green section. You'll point out all the broken green cards, and I'll point out to you why they're not broken enough.
So, thanks. Yeah, you do like that. You do like that.
But go on. This next one's yours, and I don't understand why it's here. So you go ahead, and explain it to me.
This next one is a very quick one. This is one of the cards that I just want to bring up for the sake of its existence, because there is the possibility that there may be an energy deck in CDH at some point. We have gotten a lot of very, very powerful energy cards. And if energy is a mechanic that they're deciding to come back to, it means that it is a mechanic that they may choose to come back to at some point in the future again. So this is one of those cards where I'm saying it doesn't have a home right now. I'm not sure if it will ever do anything, but it is one of the most efficient ways to just generate energy. You know, it has lots of combos to produce infinite energy. It also lets you produce infinite life. It is just, if there is something that requires energy as an important factor in its deck's mechanics and its deck's functionality, this is a card that is almost certainly going to be seeing play in that archetype. That's the only reason I want to talk about it.
And it doesn't say non-token, which is nice. And 1 mana, it's got that Orcish Bowmaster proof 2 ass. I think this is probably an upgraded Soul Sister for a deck that would play Soul Sister. I mean, I don't know what deck plays Soul Sister, but
not a lot. But yeah, you will notice this set. I mean, a lot of people have talked about this, where this set, pretty much every single 1-mana creature has 2 toughness. They almost predicted the Bowmaster meta, and they were like, okay, let's make everything good. Not Knight of Bowmaster, except for that fucking white Ocelot thing that's not a CDH card anyway.
Yeah, I went through an exercise the other day where I'm like, okay, let me look through all of the energy cards in Magic right now. Just go look through them. Is there a card here that says, pay 10 energy, win the game? And there just isn't. Like, the closest thing to it, in 60 card formats is Marvel. Yeah. But it does not win the game in CDH. So it's still missing that payoff. But we have seen 2 consecutive sets, or I guess it's not really consecutive, but we did see Fallout have some energy based mechanics. And then we have this one, so it's not out of the question that we'll see it again with something that's a little bit more broken. So, like, at some point, maybe we'll get there. I really wish there was a commander that could use energy as an infinite mana outlet, but infinite outlet, not mana outlet. And there isn't one, unfortunately. So, but next one up is it's a cutie, and that one's all yours, Tim.
Okay, well we got a sweet dog, Phelia Exuberant Shepherd. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2. It's got flash. Whenever Phelia Exuberant Shepherd attacks, exile up to one other target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next end step, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on Phelia. Pretty sweet. It's a blink card. I don't know what deck it is. Maybe you guys know, but again, this is a pattern I'm seeing where, like, the stats are just really good. 2 for a 2/2 flash is excellent. Exiles any other permanent. That's excellent. I don't know. I kind of like that about it. And it's an attack trigger. It's not a damage trigger. I think attack triggers are sweet. So I don't know what deck this goes in, but it's again, they're juicing up, like, creatures, which I think is good for the game.
What I don't understand about this card is why they would give it flash and not have it have an ETB trigger is weird. Very, very weird. It's nice that it lets you end step it before your turn, I suppose. Like, it's not bad to have flash, but it doesn't
pseudo
make a lot of
haste
sense.
Or something.
Yeah, it's pseudo haste in a sense. The cool thing about it, though, with it being an attack trigger, is obviously that's more repeatable than an ETB. Yeah. And what's nice is you can look at the temporary removal aspect of it as an upside, where you're able to keep around stacks pieces for your opponent's turn, but remove them for your own. The deck I think this has the potential to see real play in would be Winota, where it's a way to get rid of Grafdigger's Cage on attack, have that trigger for Phelia go on top of your Winota triggers, get rid of the Grafdigger's Cage, have your Winota triggers go through, have the Grafdigger's Cage stick around for your opponents. You want those stacks effects there on board. So I like that play pattern of it. I think it's a card that might be too inconsistent in its actual utility when you start playing it. Like, is there really something you want to blink every turn? But, I mean, in the same light, though, you could say, okay, is there an Oppo that I don't want on my turn? Is there a Draenith that I don't want on my turn? It just lets you deal with anything that's annoying you for just your turn, but it's still there for your opponents.
So I may or may not have a mono white deck that I'm working on that this lets into perfectly.
Cool.
And it may or may not be built around, Preston effects.
Oh,
which cool. this card works real nicely with, right?
Yeah. When you think about a card like Conjurer's Closet in, like, high power, is that card's a dunk. You know what I mean? Like, the blink decks, like, that card is like, look it up sometime. It's like a $10 card. I don't think anyone knows that, but, like, it's good. A repeatable blink effect is excellent. And I like what you said, Wounded, about it. This being it removes the stacks piece during your turn when it's inconvenience to you, but it sticks around for other players. Because that's the real issue with peeling a stacks piece is you uncage the menagerie, and then anybody can go off. Usually it's not you. Because you split mana to remove it or something.
And by the way, this happens twice with Delny, right? Delny doubles the trigger, so now we're exiling 2 things.
Happens with twice with Delny. You can also just blink your own dockside with it, get it back of end step, make some mana. Like, lots of options with it. It's flexible. It's a card I think is going to be a little inconsistent, but it might be viable.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do. All right, moving on to the next card. This one's mine. Charitable Levy. This is an enchantment. It's white and 1. It says non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, put a collection counter on Charitable Levy. Then if there are 3 or more collection counters on it, sacrifice it, and if you do, you get to draw a card. Then you may search your library for a Plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. So it's kind of like, okay, it's a stacks piece. It's a ramp spell. It's a draw effect. It kind of does a lot for white and 1. It's very slow.
Slam dunk in one deck, Max. Can you pick that deck?
In one deck. Please.
I got it.
Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me it's in tie-in. Please.
No.
This is 100% one of the best Tameshi cards ever printed. It is a pseudo silence effect for them that draws some additional cards and ramps lands into play. It is so hard for them to ramp lands, and they want to do it so bad. Naster messaged me this card the second it was spoiled and was like, "Holy fucking shit!"
And it's a permanent spell. It's an enchantment spell that they can recur.
Get it back. Keep it back.
Cool.
Like, that's what's so sick, right? You want to protect your turn where you're about to just mind over matter and then not cast spells until you've done everything infinite already. Cool, I'm going to put this into play first. And now you guys sort of have a sphere of resistance, and I have another defense grid as well.
Right.
It's a pseudo-silence effect. It's a ramp spell. It's a draw spell. It does everything they want to do. It's awesome.
It's sweet for them.
Yeah, it's pretty... I think the play pattern is going to be pretty interesting, too, because once it's in play, people are not going to want to try to trigger it at all, because if they trigger it, then the next person who's in turn order has less hoops to jump through to try to win through it, right? So they kind of slows the whole board down in a kind of controllable way, which is kind of nice. I think Heliod will want this as well, right? Because they don't care about that, one additional mana anyway, right?
Yeah, but they don't care about the other stuff in it, really. They don't care about ramping out a land or drawing a card. Like, the calling card of this card is the Plains card. Like, getting that land is the reason this is so good in Tameshi. Because I remember when we talked with Nastrom in the deck tech, he said resource access of cards and mana, easy to achieve in CEDH. Right. Very powerful, it's what everyone's trying to do. The resource access that they struggle with is getting enough lands into play. And this is pretty much one of the only ways that they will be able to play now that does it. They get Surveyor's Scope, which is their best one, and now they get this.
Yeah, fair.
Sweet.
Okay, next one. This is yours.
Next two. These are the two uncommon MDFC spells for white. They are both garbage cards. If they were not lands, you would never play these in any world. But because they are lands, they'll probably cease to play in some decks. And certain ones are way better than others. The blue ones are crazy compared to some of the other color combinations. The white ones, you get Razorgrass Ambush, 1 and a white. Razorgrass Ambush deals 3 damage to target attacking blocking creature. Both of them are the same as the Mythic style MDFCs from Zendikar, where it's a 3 life to have it come into play untapped. But they are able to come into play untapped, which is why they might see viable play. And then Witch Enchanter is a much more viable one than Razorgrass Ambush, where it's just a 4-mana creature that when it enters the battlefield destroys target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Again, shit cards, they're trash. But if you're in a mono white deck, what world do you not just play this? You don't give a shit about your life.
No, these cards are terrible, dude. Especially because
100% play this in mono white.
Well, no, I don't even think you play it mono white because white already has access to good tools that do what this does. Like, we already have good tools to remove artifacts and enchantments. We already have good removal for creatures. Like, it's already there. We don't white doesn't need
on a land.
On a land.
It's on a land.
Yeah, sure, but still, like, these are trash cards, man. Like, I'm never gonna want to. I'm never gonna want to have a.
Would we ever play Seagate Restoration in Talion if it wasn't a land?
Well, but there's a lot of benefits to it because we've got Force of Will and Misdirection. Yeah, but we got all these cards that want to pitch blue cards. What are the white cards that want to pitch white cards? They don't exist.
Fortitude.
Solitude.
Flare Fortitude, bro.
Sure, Solitude. You got me. Solitude.
Solitude and Chromox, like genuinely, and Chromox.
Chromox, he's got a point.
I'm not running either of these cards in the mono white deck.
Listen, I'm not playing mono white. Mono white gamers tell us in the comments, but I think it's just free. I think as long as
100%.
If they're not, the only reason that we're not playing the other ones is they come into play tapped. If this is untapped, the 3 mana in our format is nothing. It's like
3 life. Yeah.
3 life. Oh, sorry, 3 life is nothing.
Yeah, and white doesn't care about the life loss, but like a 4 mana 2/2 at sorcery speed to destroy an artifact or an enchantment.
But it's a land. But it's a land.
Bruh.
It's a land, bro.
You're only ever going to play it as a land.
There's decks running Turn Timber Symbiosis just cause.
Those decks are not good. You should not be playing those cards. They're not good.
Atali's a good deck.
Not good. If it was an instant speed effect, that destroyed an artifact or enchantment,
Razorgrass Ambush
that cost a reasonable amount of mana, then sure. But even in Razorgrass Ambush, okay, so I can kill a Tymna. Like, that's kind of its height. A land
that's
that can kill Tymna.
That's a good thing.
I think a mono white.
Are you playing a Ganjo? I mean, is everyone playing a Ganjo already?
I think
in mono white, yes, they're playing a Ganjo, 100%. Yeah,
I think so. Mono white.
I'm telling you right now. If I'm hypothetically building a mono white deck built around Preston style effects, I'm letting you know right now this is a snap include. It's even got an ETB trigger, bro.
Dude, He's gonna invoice you for coaching.
It's trash, man. It's trash. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the cards. I think they're trash. No one's gonna play these cards.
You should subscribe to Wounded's coaching.
Never.
I've offered it to Max. You should have seen the pain in his face when I offered him Italian coaching after I won.
I can't do that. Come on.
It was like my pride. My pride could never.
Use promo code GoldSaber.
Yeah. Use promo code GoldSaber for $5 off your first coaching set.
Yeah, no.
I'll adhere to that. I'll adhere to that promo code. That works.
That's it. Promo code GoldSaber.
Oh my God.
I will even send you guys a free card.
Yeah. All right.
Static Prison. Next card. Static Prison.
Yeah.
1 mana enchantment. This sounds like another Tameshi card. When Static Prison enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until Static Prison leaves the battlefield. You get 2 energy. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, sack it unless you paid energy. Bro, this is insane.
This card's so good.
Dude, there's decks that play like Fragmatize. There's decks that play Portable Hull. I think this is better than both of them. The one application where Portable Hull has an advantage is if you're in Oswald Fiddlebender and you're trying to like chain, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're trying to like artifact pod. And sometimes in Tivit, when you're ready to go, you can like transmute it. But I mean, like that's so fringe. 1 mana for an enchantment that exiles a permanent, basically CDH for eternity, is pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a Azorius nerd deck that likes to recur enchantments, then you're popping off. I think this card's a dunk in the decks that want it. I guess we're harkening back to like our introductory notes. This is not a card that goes in Blue Farm, but this is a card that for dirtier low color white decks love it. They love it.
I mean, it's 1 mana, remove anything.
Anything.
What's not to love? I mean, what's not to love?
This card is crazy.
Yeah.
You're not going to play Blue Farm, though, is what I'm saying. But you play it other places.
But it's a beautiful card for any deck that's running white and turbo, right? Because any stacks effect that's in your way, it doesn't matter what it is, it removes it. It's like almost like a strict upgrade to Soul Partition in a way, though. Other than the fact that it's not an
Soul Partition's instant,
right?
And yeah, so I actually think this is in some ways an upgrade to Portable Hull, which I know Portable Hull has the synergies with Oswald. And that's great. They're really powerful and they're really important to some decks, and they help you go through certain chains to get defense grade, yada, yada, yada. But the one thing that's always held Portable back to Hull to some extent is it only gets 2 CPC or less. Yeah. This is 1 fucking mana. Yeah. Get rid of anything. Anything.
I think
it's difficult to remove enchantments, right? Like it's easy to artifacts are one of the easier things to remove. Enchantments are much harder. So this card's broken. Now, I'm going to probably play this in Timna and Jessica just because it's so cheap, easy, universal removal that lets me go off. Like it gets everything out of the way that I needed to, and I don't have to do anything special to make it work. It's just pay 1 white.
Do you think Dihada wants this? Dihada wants this?
Yeah. I think Dihada.
I think so. I think Dihada at times was playing Portable Hull. So
yeah.
I think this card's really again. Very good. I don't think this is like going to go in Cisse or Nagila, but all these other decks, hell yeah. I think it's awesome.
I think anything that is a proactive focused white deck should look at it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah. Card sweet.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it a lot. I think it's borderline. It's not quite a staple, but it's close. It's close.
It's one of the most powerful uncommons in the set for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really, really good. Very unassuming looking card, but very powerful.
Yeah.
And now
I had to read it like 3 times.
About the next card.
I don't complain about anything that has cycling, but okay, this is Jolted Awake. It's another white common sorcery. Costs 1 white. Choose up to 1 target artifact or creature card in your graveyard. You get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay any amount of energy equal to that card's mana value, and if you do, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. And it's got cycling 2. Okay, it's fine. I mean, it's a reanimate on a dockside, right? It reanimates the 2 mana creature or artifact.
So we've had a running gag in this show of every single set review. We have our honorary, this is a new unearth effect card.
Yeah.
Like every single time.
Yeah.
And most of them have been 2 mana. This one is 1 mana. So I thought it was worth bringing up because it's also, as it has cycling, way closer to unearth. Like this is pretty much just white unearth, except it gets 2 CMC or less instead of 3 CMC or less.
But it gets artifacts.
Unless you have, and it can get artifacts. So you get the upside of artifacts, and if you have more energy, potentially it does more things. But yeah, it's just another white unearth.
Yeah, I think it's
worse.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. How do you like? Is this one you're going to complain about, or do you get it?
Which one? The Jolted Awake one?
The next card. The next card, Thraben Charm.
I keep looking at it and wishing it was better, but like it's
so it is better. It is literally better than Get Lost, and everyone is playing Get Lost. Get Lost is 2 mana, 1 and a white, and it's essentially destroy target creature or destroy target enchantment. No one cares about the Planeswalker text, and some decks utilize the map tokens. This is 2 mana, get rid of a creature, get rid of an enchantment, or deal with graveyards if you have to. This is a better upgraded Get Lost, and no one has talked about this card at all.
Here's my problem. Here's my problem. Okay, like I look at this as like a control card, right? And the same way you're looking at it, I think, is it's a removal spell. And with interaction, with graveyards built into it, so it's a good like interactive control card. The problem is that most of the time when you're playing a control deck, you don't have a whole lot of creatures, right? So dealing damage equal to twice the number of creatures you control is not. It doesn't kill everything. It kills some things.
You have two creatures who deal with everything in the format.
You have 1 creature, you kill Tymna.
You have 1 creature, you kill Tymnakin and Dockside, whatever.
Doesn't
you have 2 creatures
kill.
who deal with anything.
I mean, what do you need to kill most of the time? What are you trying to kill? Huh?
Kinnan, Dockside, Tymna, like
Malcolm.
It deals with all of the common threats that you need to kill in the format. This deals with as long as you have 1 creature. If you have 2 creatures, it deals with 95% plus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, cool, I have just Tivit. I deal with almost anything I need to deal with. Cool, I have Tivit and Dothy. Right. Deal with anything in the format. Oh, I can't hit exactly Tidespot Tyrant and Hullbreaker Horror. But like I hit Crom, I hit Winota, I hit fucking Seaboard Muse, I hit whatever else. Like it at 2 creatures, it deals with pretty much everything.
A lot of people are playing Get Lost. I think Max has a point. I think the exile all graveyards
huge.
It's pretty huge upside.
Huge.
More often than not, when it comes down to it, Max, Fef is like, let's say we're like, how many games is it's like the graveyard is the choke point between winning and losing? It's usually the graveyard. More than like the breaking up a creature chain or something. It's like,
yeah, I hear you.
Like,
so imagine if your slightly worst removal Get Lost also said, oh, you cast Underworld Breach, that resolves, I'm going to get rid of your graveyard.
Yeah, I just have a hard time imagining that, like, even running Get Lost right now. I mean, how many decks are running Get Lost in CDH right now?
A lot. Like, actually a good amount. Yes, more than you think. More than you think are running Get Lost, bro.
Tivit
more than you think.
And I think
Tivit plays it, but even like Blue's Clues plays it.
It's true.
But I think through like the removal spells that are my options now, and I'm like, I've got Swords, I've got Soul Partition, I've got Touch of Spirit Realm, I've got a March of Otherworldly Light.
You don't really play Soul Partition anymore. Most of that got swapped for Get Lost.
He's right. I've seen Get Lost more, Max. But the other thing about this is
that may be, but like I would rather run something that's universal removal than run something that's more niche removal. Like most of the time.
I agree with you. But you remember there were some people that were crowing about Calamity's Wake. That card's not anywhere anymore, but this is pretty sick. I mean, exiling all graveyards, pretty sick.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Better than I thought.
Yeah, maybe it's. I'm with you. I think it's better than Get Lost. I'm with you on that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's
all I was asking.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted you to say that.
Yeah, you got me. I agree. You got me there. You got me. I don't think I'm gonna play it though. I don't think it's gonna see as much play as like a lot of good removals. I'd rather play Soul Partition than that. Put it that way.
That's
cool.
That's
just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a dockside doubler, which is sweet. So
yeah, I think it has more utility, and it hits everything.
Well, are you ready to talk about the most unhinged card in the whole?
Oh my God! Do it!
The most unhinged card in the whole set is Amphibian Downpour. It is a flash aura. It's 2 and a blue. 3 mana, flash aura. Enchanted creature loses all abilities, becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1/1. Oh yeah, and it has storm.
This card's sick,
Okay.
dude. This card is so cool.
So the thing I'm most interested about this card is you give your opponents enchantments. This is a nutso dockside card. Think about that. Like you.
No, because you still control all the enchantments.
Oh, do you?
Okay. All right. I got excited for a second. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well, it's still cool.
You still control them.
Oh, you control them? Oh, rats.
Just don't play against Grolnok when you play this, and that'd be real rough.
Yeah, so tell me about, I've heard people saying Kidden players want this card. Do they?
No, I think this is actually a control card. I think it's this weird type of thing where you play it. It has to be something where you're holding up your mana. So, like, I'm interested in potentially testing this Italian. Because this is just like, oh, you just, like, did your normal turn where you cast a Soul Ring and a Talisman, and you tried to cast this other spell, and then someone countered it. And then I said, okay, Amphibian Downpour, 5 copies, ruin your guys' board states of everything that you care about. All your commanders are frogs now. And it has Storm, so it's not like you counter just one and they're all done. Like, they're all individual things they have to counter. I think this card is way better than it looks on paper and will play really interestingly.
You have a point. And the other thing about it being an aura, I think is super annoying. It's almost like elking things in a way, where it's like, you can't just recast Kindred from the command zone if it's an elk and it pisses people off. You know what I mean? So that's kind of cool, actually.
Keeping something on board and losing all of its abilities is more powerful than removing it.
Kind of cool.
Most of the time.
I think it's pretty sweet.
My thought process with this card is it's going to be interesting against Nadu, right? Because what you do is you cast this. You do not target Nadu with the original, right? Because you got to let the storm trigger go on the stack first, and then the first storm trigger, the first storm copy, you have target Nadu, and then all the rest target the other creatures. So that way, you don't trigger Nadu 1,000 times, right?
You do still trigger.
You still do all the storms go on the stack at the same time.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. All the storms.
So never mind. I don't even want to do it. That this card's not good.
You like this? We're already talking.
This card's so good.
All I want to say is we're already talking about the hypothetical Nadu meta.
Yeah.
All my shot, dude.
It's a real thing.
Nadu.
All my shot.
No, I'm not playing this card, dude. This card's not good. Like, I understand your thinking process, but like,
dude, Nadu stands, rise up.
We got the Nadu cards, baby.
no. It's too.
Why is no one else playing Docent? Docent's so good in Nadu.
Docent's sweet.
It's
Docent's sick, bro.
a 3-mana interaction spell that, like, a lot of the times you just need to remove one thing. It's just I don't think we can afford to.
We
run
play so much 2-mana interaction. Like, I think 3 might be okay. I want to try it. Give it a chance. You can shit on me later and call me an idiot, or maybe you say, "Damn, this card's crap." Do I have the next card?
Yeah.
Is it on me?
You're up.
Next card is you, baby.
Oh,
it's a good one.
I get to talk about it. I think it's so much worse than a lot of other people think, so I'm the worst person to talk about it. Next card is Flare of Denial, one of the most hyped cards from the entire set. 1 blue if you want to hard cast this motherfucker, but you can also just sacrifice a non-token blue creature to cast it for free. Counter, target, spell.
That's
okay. This card obviously will see some play. Obviously, it is a free counter spell. It is going to see some play. The question is what decks actually run it. And it has to be a deck that has just sackable blue creatures that you are okay doing that. One of the best play patterns for it is just like, cool, Thoracle, ETB on the stack. I now have this to sacrifice my Thoracle to counterspell. Works great there. I think it works great in low-cost blue commanders that you don't feel the need to always have on the board. So potentially Malcolm decks, potentially Thrasios decks. I think this could definitely see a level of play. One of the things I hate is the people talking about playing this motherfucker in Kinnan. They're like, oh, just our little 2-mana Kinnan. Some people told me that it was better than Pact of Negation, to which I said, what the fuck are you talking about? They were like, well, you recast Kinnan for 4 mana versus paying 5 mana for Pact of Negation, to which I said, if we have Kinnan on board and we tap 2 rocks and a land, that's kind of like 3 mana for Pact of Negation versus recasting Kinnan and having to deal with that. Don't sack your Kinnan for this. It needs to be blue creatures that you are okay getting rid of, and you need to have a density of those in your deck, or commanders that you are really comfortable getting rid of and recasting.
I agree.
That's the only time this card sees plays. When you can fit those requirements, I think it's a great card. It's a free counterspell. I think it is a high cost to pay. Like, needing to sacrifice a non-token creature is a lot. And that's true for all of these flares, except the red one with Rograk. But like most of the time, like that is a very real cost, and that's where I think there is a common misconception with the flares, where people are like they are free, and yes, they are technically free to cast at that time, but in terms of the resource loss of really utilizing them, they are not as truly free as a lot of other things. They are not as truly free as something like Force of Will or Force of Negation, where you're getting rid of cards in hand. Where those are not things that you've spent actual resource on casting yet. Those are just additional cards that you've drawn. I think there's a huge difference between sacrificing something that is on your board and non-token, meaning that you had to cast it, you had to spend resource in advance for this spell to be free later. And that is why I don't think any of the flares are as good as a lot of people think they are, especially the blue one. The blue one is, I think, one of the most overhyped cards from the set, in my opinion, but it will absolutely see some play, and it will definitely have some situations where it's very powerful, very good, and very viable.
Yeah, I got to go ahead. What were you going to say, Tim? Go ahead.
Well, I think he's right. I think the one thing I really do like about it is that it's counter. It's not non-creature spell. It's any spell. And there's so many times where it's just like, you know, the most collaborative moment in like a CDH game is when somebody's got like a Grand Abolisher on the stack and you're all like, what do we do? You know, and this is like, that's the one time you want to sack your Kinnan. The one time. You're not going to play this in Kinnan. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd sack anything to counter the Abolisher. Just so we don't...
But if there's an Abolisher, like, play this out in your head hypothetically. Like, actually, imagine those play patterns. You are playing Malcolm Timna and you've decided to try this card out. Or you're playing Thrasios Dargo and you've decided to try this card out. And, you know, someone puts a Grand Abolisher in the stack, no one's got shit for it. You say, okay, I'll cast Flare of Denial, sacrificing my Thrasios. Mm-hmm. When you've gone down that resource to deal with it, not in the way of a Force of Will, not in the way of a Mindbreak Trap, not in the way of a Mana Drain or whatever, what do you think the likelihood is that you're actually winning that game? Do you think that increases your personal win percentage to have those play patterns as a part of your deck where you are spending such additional resource to deal with things, not your opponents? Is that actually a viable, successful play pattern?
Well, that's an excellent question. I don't know. I'll have to see it play out. I just think that it's one more tool against like a very hard to interact with choke point in the meta. So that's about it. But I agree with you saying. You're setting your if the Abolisher resolves, your odds of winning are like zero or very low. It's like Otawara or bust. You know, like Turtle or bust. You're in these very your percentage goes way down. You're definitely, you know, taking yourself out of the legs, but you're not dead. I agree with you. It's not a winning position, but it's one way to like get another turn maybe. That I think if people think of it more like I think people are thinking of this card as like in the echelon of Force of Will. This is more like in the echelon of like a Warrior's Oath. It's like it's more like there, like or Final Fortune, like one of these like. Well, I mean, like I'll get another turn.
Last resort spell, yeah.
It's like a last resort spell as opposed to like a free spell.
I think
it's like the tier is offer you can't refuse. Like if you're running offer, maybe you swap it for this.
No, I don't think you. I think it's a spell of last resort in a control deck, and I like it specifically for Talion. The reason I like it, I know we don't agree on that. We don't have to agree. It's fine. It's fine. We don't have to agree. But the reason I like it for Talion is for two reasons. Okay, number one is sometimes you want to get rid of Talion before your turn. If you're playing if the game has been grinding on for a while, and I have Thorkel Consult in hand, right? In order for me to win safely, I need to get rid of my own Talion. So this offers the opportunity to do that cleanly, right? And even better than that, it introduces the play pattern where I'm like, well, this is the last thing I could do, and I go and I sacrifice my Talion, and I look like I'm putting my last piece of interaction on the stack to stop someone from winning the game, and really what I'm doing is setting up to win on my own turn, right? And that lets other people feel at that point like they're going to interact from then forward. It lets me create that play pattern where I'm not the police at the table after that spell, right? It establishes like I'm done now. It's up to you guys, right? It makes it. I can do that. I can set that line. The other thing is, you know, I like it. Like I run into a lot of games with Talion where I end up with, you know, I still don't have enough counter magic. I still want more counter magic, and this is something that can get me to survive a turn and get back to my turn, even if it does cost me a Talion, because Talion isn't a combo piece, right? Talion is not. I don't need Talion on board to win the game. If I get Hullbreaker Horror, I don't need it anymore. Like it is, or if I get Mean Betrayal, I don't need it anymore. Talion has done his job. If I get to the point where I can win the game, and being able to hold that flare up as a defensive spell in Talion for me to win the game is great, and it works. And I think that's true also for any other deck that has a commander that's blue that isn't a combo piece, that isn't there to win the game. It's there to draw cards and there to drive your deck. So at that point, you can sacrifice that commander and not set yourself back too far if you're at the point where if you're just trying to get to your next turn and you can get there, right? Which happens a lot, guys. It happens a lot. In CDH, like I find myself in games all the time where I'm like, God, if I just had one more piece of interaction and I can get back to my turn, I can win, and I don't need my commander to do that. This card gets you there.
Gets you one more piece of interaction? A card advantage engine on board. If you imagine the scenarios you just described, everything you talked about with this being a good card in Talion was situations where you already have a lot of other cards in hand and are ready to do a lot of other things. That's not always our reality. A lot of times we have to use the one counterspell that we have early. And if that means sacrificing my Talion to deal with something and not lose the game, that means I am out of the game. Because as a control deck, I am never winning the game if I do not have additional resource coming in. And if I have to sacrifice Talion to deal with something early in that type of early game state, I am not winning that game.
Well, I'm not taking out another counterspell to put this in. I'm adding this like as an additional counterspell. Like I'm not going down density in counter magic to add this. That doesn't change what I just said.
I'm talking about the play patterns of if you draw this early and it is your first counterspell that you draw.
Well, what are you drawing instead of this then?
A different counterspell that still does the same thing but doesn't sacrifice my.
But that's not how the math works, right? If you all those other cards are still in your deck, right? So you're still just as likely to draw those. Now you're just likely to draw this instead of a a Shoulder's Edict or like Ledger Shredder or something like that.
We don't play either of those cards anymore.
Yeah, I forget what I cut for it.
Yeah, we have Unsubstantiate now instead of Shield.
Yeah, I cut Unsubstantiate. So I cut Unsubstantiate for this card.
Sure. So let's imagine that's the difference, right? Where like we're in the early game battalion, where our job is we are never tapping down. We always have our mana held up. Like cool. We turn one Italian and now we're tapped out. Sure, in that exact scenario. But let's imagine that scenario. This is your only counterspell. Okay, sacrifice my Italian, counter your spell. Don't lose the game that turn cycle. I now have nothing, and I will do nothing this entire game. You need to have card advantage on board in a control deck, or you are never winning that game. I am not sacrificing my card advantage engine.
I will if it's the difference between losing and not losing. Like it's the difference between like okay, if I have if I drew Unsubstantiate, if I draw Unsubstantiate early, right? I can't play Talion and hold up Unsubstantiate, right? So I can't play Talion at that point. I have to pass with no Talion.
That's right. That's fine. The EV on your games over a longer period of time is higher if you do not sacrifice your commander.
Yeah, I'd rather play Talion there, tap out, have that flare as my emergency spell, and hope to draw other interaction. That's what I would do.
Okay. Well, I look forward to our conversations in the future when you test Flare Denial Talion, and when I tell you I told you so, it will be so fucking sweet. This one will be so sweet. I'm looking forward to this one.
All right. Moving on. Tim, you're up again. Again.
More of a desperation spell than a free spell. That's all I think we should know.
Yeah.
Harbinger of the Seas. It's a Merfolk Wizard. Wizard's a good type. It's 1 and 2 blue for a 2/2 non-basic lands or islands. It's a color shifted, more or less, Magus of the Moon. Blue Magus of the Moon. Blue Moon is a deck in some formats. It's a fringe deck. I'd like to hear what you guys think about this card. I know that the main knock against Magus of the Moon as of late is that you're not really choking your opponents on resources if you give them make their lands into something that still casts Dockside. I know that because like I've been in like 2 games where like there's been a Magda player casting Blood Moon and then we all just get like pantsed by Cisse and we're like, well, man, what we can do, man? I got no land. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Nothing comes to mind, but maybe I think it's a cool card. I think it's a powerful effect. I don't know if it's like effect we want right now in the meta, but maybe it is.
I think it'll see play in specifically Urza. Urza's where this deck is going to be real good. You make it a face. Urza in a while. That's not what you think. What deck are you thinking, Max? You got a face going on there.
Well, Urza. I was actually talking to Necro in like 2 nights ago. Urza is leaning proactive nowadays. We're on Turbo Urza meta right now. But I mean, they got so many good cards for going fast lately. Like fucking the Forensic Gadgeteer. Holy shit. But yeah. So most important creature type that's not on this card is that it is not a human, which means it is kin inaccessible.
You're gonna play this card.
I am considering playing this card. The thing that is holding me back from playing this card is I am on the Kinnan build that has the full full utility land package. I love my utility lands. So losing that aspect of my strategy, I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm very interested in testing how this card plays, specifically because, I mean, the menace of the meta is Blue Farm. And this is one of the best cards ever printed against Blue Farm. If you look at a standard Blue Farm list and you land this early, they have a total of 5 cards in their entire deck that give them access to red mana. They get Lotus Petal, Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Arcane Signet, Simian Spirit Guide. They have 6 cards. They give them access to red mana. Lines that they're not, yeah, but that doesn't work for Dockside, right? But so that's my point. Like, this fucks Blue Farm. Like, absolutely fucks Blue Farm. One of the best cards ever printed against them. Because again, like the ability to not cast Dockside is what's so powerful about this, while still letting people interact, right? Like, it's a stacks piece that you can play on board in a more control strategy, completely hinder your opponents, still give them the capability to interact, where a lot of people always get in that shitty play pattern of, oh man, I could help out here if there wasn't a Blood Moon. Well, guess what? You can still help out right now. You can still help out in a lot of ways. The call against this card versus Blood Moon is that while the Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon effects are really bad because they give you access to Dockside, they're really good in that they're hard to remove. A lot of the things that do remove things like creatures in CDH are blue. You get your Chain of Vapors, you get your Cyclonic Rifts, you get your random bounce spells and such like that. So, and even Otawara, like, blue mana does give you access to getting rid of this, but it doesn't give you access to the mana to execute your strategy. And if you think about this compared to Magus of the Moon, Magus of the Moon is a one-step process to execute your strategy, which is just play Dockside, win game. In this one, it is essentially a 2-step process, because it is get rid of this, then play Dockside to execute your strategy. Most of the time, you don't have the resource on board to do what you need to do if this has been on the board, because you haven't been able to do the things you need to do. So you need to get rid of this, and then you need to do things to progress yourself.
See, here's my problem, is CDH has become less and less land-focused. The land counts in every deck across the format have continued to drop over time, and will continue to drop over time. Mana dorks, mana rocks are so prevalent and so much a part of what we do. So the problem with this card is that most of the time it just isn't enough of a hindrance to be worth it for you to play, because the fact that it costs blue and 1 is prohibitive. It's not an easy cost to pay. All right, it's a slow card that's just a 2/2 that doesn't do a whole lot else for you. Like, it just isn't a powerful enough effect most of the time to be worth playing in your deck, in my opinion. The difference, of course, is, like I said, Urza, and I mean Urza stacks. Like, I understand what you're saying, that there's a lot more Turbo Urza right now, but even Turbo Urza could play this with absolutely no downside for them whatsoever. Right? They play this card, it makes everyone's life more difficult, and it doesn't affect them at all. So they completely break parity on this card, which is the only reason I could see them playing it. I think other decks are going to try it. I can tell you, as a connoisseur and long-suffering proponent of Magus of the Moon, it has screwed me more times than it's helped me, and I think this card's going to be the same.
Max P, do you think this is a good... does this slow down Sisei at all?
Yes.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, it
No,
does.
because most of Sisei's mana generation is not lands.
Yes, it is in the early game. Like, this is a card you want to land early, right? Like, obviously, it's most impactful early. All of these types of effects.
Yeah, but how do you play it early? Like, you can't do the play pattern of, land, mana crypt, Magus of the Moon, right? Because it's blue 1, right? So getting it out on turn 1 is not an easy thing to do. And Sisei, like, the way Sisei plays, Sisei is trying to get mana rocks, is trying to get Selvala, is trying to get Dockside. Like, that's where its mana generation is coming from. It's not trying to put together 5 Wooburg lands. It's just not how that deck wins.
Right, but when they're getting there,
sure. If you
need red,
I mean, against any high colored deck, if you land this early, it's going to be extremely impactful. Yes. But you're not going to do that. That's Magical Fairy Christmas Land. Most of the time...
Max, what's the name of this show, bro? What's the name of this show?
Yeah, Colors Her Crutch. Yeah. I got you.
Let's show them what a fucking crutch they are, my guy. Let's fucking let them know.
Yeah.
This card, yeah. I'm excited to see people brew it. If it shows up, I'll think it's cool. I mean, I think it's sweet. I mean, try it out. See if it's bad. We won't know until we play it. We won't know until we play it.
It also just, like, Red Blast and Pyroblast kills it. Like, it
with your islands.
Well, you got to have one red source, right? You got to have one red source to get rid of it. But yeah, it's like, I just don't think it's going to be that good. Like I understand the allure of it, but I could tell you as someone who's fallen into the Magus of the Moon trap, like trust me, like you'll see. Like people will play this card, they'll play it in one game, it will do absolutely nothing to stop their opponents because usually it's just too late, and then you'll take it out of your decks. I think that's what'll happen.
You ready to talk about Italian card next, Max P?
Yeah. Am I up? Is it my turn?
Maybe. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's my turn. It is my turn. This card is freaking broken. Okay, so this is Strix Serenade. It's an instant, costs 1 blue. Counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller gets a bird, right? So it's like sort of reverse swan song. I don't understand why people are not losing their minds about this card. A 1-mana spell that counters any creature, any artifact, or any planeswalker, and people aren't losing their minds. This card is a staple.
So
this card is a staple.
My question: Do you play this? Because obviously, if you're ever playing Stern Scolding, this is strictly replacement.
Sure,
it's just better Stern Scolding, 100%. Are you in a mindset where even if you weren't playing Stern Scolding, you play?
Yes, 100%. 100%. I think that this becomes a staple. And I know people are like, I see your face, but I'm telling you, watch. This is going to end up in blue farm.
Okay, right.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
No, because my thing with counter magic is it's the same conversation I have about like Veil of Summer with a lot of people, and Stern Scolding, all those types of effects. This is not a counterspell that works both ways. This is not a counterspell that you can use to stop your opponents and protect yourself. This is only a counterspell that you use to stop your opponents. And that's a very different category of interaction, which I'm not saying this isn't a very good one and that it won't see play. It definitely might, but it's not something that I'm replacing another counter for unless it was a counter like Stern Scolding. It would be something you have to add in addition. And then I think the slots that you would have for this, because you're not viewing this in the same light as a regular counterspell, I'm probably not even removing like a spell snare for this. My thought is, are you cutting a piece of removal to say I'll be preemptive rather than once it's on board? Like, where do you go with this? What's your head?
I'm running it in any deck that's mid-range or control. I'm running it in Blue Farm. I'm running it in Timna, Malcolm. I'm telling you, this card is ridiculous. I'm telling you. Nobody believes me. I keep having this conversation and nobody believes me. But the ability,
telling me something?
The ability to counter any creature, you're casting a Tivit. I can counter your Tivit with this 1-mana spell. Ridiculous.
That's
yes, I don't run it in Rogside because in Rogside I only care about me winning, right? But any deck that wants a mid-range strategy where they're trying not to lose at any point in the game, this is just too powerful. It's just too good. It counters One Rings. It counters Grand Abolishers. It counters Cutzels. It counters Tivits, Atraxas. Like any of those.
Grand Abolisher.
It's incredible. The card is broken, and all it does is give you a 2/2 bird, which nobody gives a shit about, right?
It's a Timna.
It counters a Karn, right? It counters Dahada. Like the card is extremely flexible, more flexible than people realize, and having access to a one blue spell that counters creatures is incredibly underrated. And I don't think anyone realizes how much they need it until you actually have it in your deck and in your hand, and you're looking at the board state and you're thinking about what your opponent's trying to do, and you realize that this card is a fucking ace in your hole. I'm telling you.
I think I would grab this before I grab like maybe Rabbit Hybridization or Pongify maybe.
Oh, easy.
But that's kind of where I'm thinking about it. Like better than Stern Scolding. In most decks, maybe I'd rather play Dispel. Maybe I'm dissing it too much, but
probably this doesn't take a
Dispel.
This doesn't take a counter slot.
Rapid Hybridization, kind of where I'd put this.
Yeah.
Somewhere
this is this weird thing where it's in between a counterspell and a removal spell.
Yeah, that's why I think. What do you think, Max? Kind of.
Oh, I think you're going to see people running it as their next counterspell. You
think so?
Yeah, I think so.
We only have so many slots.
You're going to put it in Kinnan. I'm going to say this right here, right now. I'm saying it's going into Kinnan.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying there's a 0% chance, but I am all about flexibility, right? Like that has always been my thing. I like my things to be both proactive and reactive. That's what my playstyle is, and this is not.
If you're trying to beat control decks right now, if you're trying to navigate the mid-range hell, right? What is one of the things that you can do that's most effective against a player who has a risk study and a handful of counter magic? a creature. Playing creatures. Because our counter magic in the format isn't good against creatures.
I agree.
This fills that gap. And it fills it for nothing, for 1 blue.
That's not nothing. It's a card slot. And it's 1 blue.
I mean, Stern Scolding was like, everyone looks at it as just an upgrade for Stern Scolding. Stern Scolding, you only play it in fringe decks, right? Because it's just too narrow. It's too narrow.
I think this is
less narrow, way less narrow.
I agree with you that this card is better than most people are giving it credit for. I 100% agree with you that it is better than it is often perceived, but I also think that you are a little overhyping it and maybe viewing it a little too strongly. And I think that once you play it, and you're going to have a lot of times that you need to win a counterspell war and this does nothing for you, and you're going to say, oh, I wish this was Dispel. That's the difference.
Wounded's right. It's not. I do think that it's not proactive enough. That's all.
Oh, you're casting a Ranger Captain of Eos. Oh shit. Well, this Force of Neg doesn't do anything. This Dispel doesn't do anything. The Swan Song sucks. I guess that resolves. Oh wait, I have a Strix Serenade in my hand. Get a bird. Get fucked. Have a nice day.
Okay, cool. I'm casting Finale Devastation. Oh, the Strix Serenade doesn't stop it.
Okay, but I have 3 other counterspells in my hand that handle that. Like, I already have all the answers for that.
You always have 4 counterspells.
Yes, I do.
Hand,
always. I always do. Every time. Even when I'm playing Florian, I have 4 counterspells in hand.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, because you play fucking Bolt's Trickery and that kind
of Time will tell.
We're spending a lot of time on this, but I'll just go on record. I believe in this card. I think this card is extremely good for CDH specifically. I think we're going to see a lot more of it than you think.
Sure.
Maybe.
All right.
Moving on to an awesome card.
This is
Volatile.
Wait,
Volatile.
This is Tim's card. What are you doing? It's still his card.
No, it's yours.
No, you.
Oh, you're right. It's your turn. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Go ahead.
May I continue?
I'll allow it.
Yes, you may.
That resolves.
The next card is Volatile Stormdrake, ETB trigger on the stack. 1 and a blue. It is a creature Drake, 3/2. Flying, hexproof from activated and triggered abilities, for whatever fucking reason, I guess. And then, when Volatile Stormdrake enters the battlefield, exchange control of Volatile Stormdrake and target creature an opponent controls. If you do, you get 4 energy. Then, sacrifice that creature unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. Now, this is a cool card. This is an interesting card. Because it's Gilded Drake for Modern, which is cool. It's an energy Gilded Drake, a little volatile per se. But it also has upsides over Gilded Drake, which is very interesting. Where, if you look at the cards you are Gilded Draking, the majority of them in the format, I would say 85% of the time plus, it is going to be something that is 4 CMC or less when you are actively trying to Gilded Drake something. So it fits the exact same role as Gilded Drake the majority of the time. Its upsides over Gilded Drake is it functions as a removal spell, where if there's something like a Collector Oof or a, Containment Priest, something that's just a generic effect on board that you need to get rid of, this allows you to use this card as functional removal for it, which is really, really powerful and really cool. And then in the same vein, like, even though you can't steal a Hullbreaker Horror or a Seedborn Muse or something with it, unless you have extra energy for some reason, you can still at least remove those things. So it's not like it's completely non-usable at dunking on your opponent's larger creatures that you need to get rid of as well. So it's an interesting card that I'm like actually curious in trying it in canon over Gilded Drake and seeing if I like it more depending on where the meta is at. Like, I think if we go back to a Staxier place where I am dealing with more oofs and such, I think this is just generically better than Gilded Drake. In the current meta, I'm not quite sure, but it's a very powerful card. It's a very playable card, and I think time will tell if this is, just a second Gilded Drake, or if it actually is a better one most of the time.
Well, I'll ask a question. Would you rather, when you have a Gilded Drake, your target, more often than not, are you hoping you could, think about it, if you take a Drannith, I would rather take a Drannith than destroy a Drannith. I'd rather take a Seedborn than destroy a Seedborn. I'd rather take a Kitten than destroy a Kitten. I'd rather take a Hullbreaker Horror than destroy a Hullbreaker. It goes on. A Tivit. I'd rather take a Tivit than destroy a Tivit. I'm just trying to think. I agree with you saying it's a cool, scenario where you can like destroy something, but I just don't know what I want to destroy right now.
Well, the majority of the things you said, it does take. It does take Dranith. It does take Kinnan. It does take Tymna. Like the majority of the things you are Gilded Draking in the format, it does take. Like if you actually,
but it does come up short. It does come up short against Tivit, Niv-Mizzet, Atraxa,
Who the fuck is Gilded Draking a Tivit and paying the ward? When is that happening?
I've done it. I've done it many times. Okay. Yeah, I do it all the time.
I'd pay the iron price to take it to
100%.
I clone that motherfucker. But my point is, like, if you actually look at this, I'm very curious if someone has statistics on, like, hey, I have used Gilded Drake 100 times. These are the creatures I have taken those 100 times, or at least attempted to take those 100 times. Here's the statistics on what their CMCs were. And I'd be very curious to see, like, what is the actual percentage of the time that Volatile Stormdrake would do the same thing. Because I would bet it's at least 80%.
I agree. I think the card's strong. I think it's playable. I think there are some decks and some scenarios where it's going to be better than Gilded Drake, for sure. I think it has a couple of things that I like about it. One is that it doesn't have that blowout potential where you do the thing where you cast a Gilded Drake, you target your opponent's creature, and your other opponent responds by, destroying, the target of your copy, and then the Gilded Drake gets blown up as a result, right? Because it has that clause where if the target's no longer, viable, then it sacrifices. So at that point, your opponent has now blown both of you and your opponent out at the same time, kind of thing. Right.
You still keep a 3/2 flyer.
Exactly. So you don't, it doesn't have that downside, which is kind of nice. It's a little bit more resilient as a creature in general, which is good.
I think it's cool. I think it's a cool card.
I thought about it for Talion, and I'm looking at Talion. I'm like, I'm not going to run it in Talion because rather than running a second Gilded Drake, I'd rather run another clone. I think it's more powerful at this point than like stealing someone's dockside. I'd rather copy it. But I think the card's good, and I think in some situations it's going to be better than Gilded Drake. Yeah,
I'd play it over Flare of Denial for sure in town.
Sure.
You could sacrifice it to Flare of Denial.
What I'd say about this card too is that, like, I'm trying to think, like, would I rather play it in Rog, Thras? I don't know if I need another Gilded Drake. Would it replace Gilded Drake? Because I'm usually only ever stealing Kinnan. I feel like it's all I ever steal in that deck. Anyway, I just want Kinnan all the time. I'm currently I'm lost in the sauce. I'm playing like Mask of the Mimic right now because I do believe the meta is so inbred that you always know what you're getting, and you always. So I don't know. I think I'm willing to try it. I'm not going to try it in Nadu because I think clones are excellent in Nadu because you can essentially reset Nadu. So I don't think I'd want it there. But I think card's excellent.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Now you are up, Tim. I like this card a lot, by the way.
That's me, Emrakul's Messenger. 2 for a 2/1, devoid flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create an 0/1 Eldrazi spawn that sack it to add colors. The Eldrazi spawns, I think, are going to... they're making them easier to make now. I think they're going to play better than we think. It's not as good as, like, Lotho, but it's doing a Lotho-esque thing. It's easier to cast than Lotho. It dies like Lotho. You're in control of it. I definitely think that Lotho makes way more treasures. I think treasures are better than spawns. So I don't know. I know there were some people talking about this card, hyping it up, but I think that was just memeing. I don't know how serious they were about it. So it's hard to say. I do think. I mean, I don't think this is a blue farm card by any means, but a deck that has an in the command zone combo piece or card advantage engine, generally the choke point will be mana, and the fact that this can make mana for decks that are card advantage decks is pretty cool. The opportunity cost is so low. It's a 2-mana 2/1 flying. I'd almost rather like play this than like Fairy Mastermind. I'm pretty low on Fairy Mastermind, by the way, but I'd rather play this than Fairy Mastermind. So that's what I have to say about this card. I think it's pretty cool.
I'm curious in it in blue Tymna decks. I'm not sure if it quite makes it into blue farm. Maybe it's more like a Tymna Thrasios relative type card. But the fact that it is a evasive body that generates mana in your Tymna deck and also gives you additional creatures that are mana and also you can use to sacrifice to things like Culling the Weak and Diabolic Intent. Like, those have value. And also, 100%. Like, Tymna Thrasios is a deck that often plays Cradle. I think this card potentially sees play in Timna Thras.
What about the Timna Malcolm deck that Goose is playing with the Delny? So you get 2 spawns.
Yeah, but Malcolm's already generating you better resources with the treasures. So I think I don't think you want this card over some of the other card choices that you need in that deck.
Each turn. Yeah, but Max, think about it this way: like a turn cycle, like with Delny out, this could make like 6 mana.
Theoretically,
that's a lot.
Well, you would need to be drawing 2 cards in each of your opponent's turns, which is a little.
Yeah. I think in that deck,
if it said whenever a player draws a second card for their turn, you get to create an Eldrazi sign. Yeah. I think it would be very good. I think the fact that it's a 2/1, so it just dies to Bowmasters extremely easily, is a rough spot for it. It does want to be in a Timna deck, but I can't imagine Blue Farm wanting this card.
No.
I can't imagine Timna Malcolm needing this card because Malcolm generates treasures already at a much faster rate. And this isn't a pirate.
Max, I mean, you're right. They play like Spectral Sailor and stuff that gets has 1 toughness. Granted, it costs 1 mana, but the thing about this is that deck's already running like Esper Sentinel, and Esper Sentinel Delny is drawing a shit ton of cards. I played against Goose's deck. He is drawing a ton of cards, and you're right. I don't like that it's just you, but I do like that you're in control of it, which I think is cool. As opposed to not being in control.
This is one of those time will tell cards. It's not something that's immediately you're like, oh, this is great. Totally. I just think it has potential in some strategies, and I'm curious to see where.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dunk, but I think it's a good card.
I think it's a good card too, and I almost want to run it. I think it's just, I don't think we have the right commander for it yet. I think it will find a home at some point. I just don't think we're quite there yet. Talion is actually in my mind kind of the closest, and I'm not running Talion. Because it's our biggest problem with Talion all the times. It's just generating enough mana.
Interesting. Yeah, is this Italian card? I'm actually kind of curious now. Maybe that's worth considering.
And 2 mana is a good spot. We can being able to tap 2 is usually very doable. So it's possible.
And if Talion hadn't taken Nimrus out to the woodshed and executed her, this would be a good Nimrus card.
Well, Nimrus doesn't draw. Nimrus's trigger is putting into hand.
It's not a draw.
It's draw engines. Like I said, the problem with it is the anti-synergy. Okay, I want to draw cards, and then Bowmasters is just there. Just very
That's
awkward.
True. I don't know. It is an awkward card, but it is cool.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I'm up, right?
Max.
Yeah. I like
by far the best color combination of MDFCs.
Yeah. So blue is the best MDFCs for the set by far.
Holy shit!
And by the way, I'm trying. One of these cards is a slam dunk, no brainer into Talion. That's Sink into Stupor, right? That's the bolt land on the reverse side for blue, and then it's blue 1. Return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. The card's fucking
pretty
great.
Sweet.
So good.
It's a fucking upgraded unsubstantiate for 1 more mana on a land.
It's insane.
That is insane.
It's real good.
Yeah. That is really actively insane. You want to talk about a counterspell that hits Grand Abolisher? Got you. Right here on a fucking land.
It hits a Hullbreaker Horror. It hits everything.
It's a Hullbreaker Horror. My Nessa Hull's not safe anymore.
Yeah, it's real good. It's a no-brainer.
That's awesome.
It's already in Talion. And I think any deck that's trying to do control things, that isn't 5-color, should really consider this card. It's just too easy.
I think we should also consider the other one.
So in my test list, I do in fact have Hydroelectric Specimen. Again, this is another bolt land on the other side. But on this side, it's a creature for blue and 2. It's a weird flash 1/4. It says when Hydroelectric Specimen enters the battlefield, you may change the target instant or sorcery spell with a single target to Hydroelectric Specimen. So right now I pulled out Plaza of Heroes to put this card in because it kind of fills a similar role in the sense that it can provide protection. If someone's trying to Deadly Rollick my Shieldred, for example, I can flash this in and redirect it to this instead. So it's a really sweet little protection piece, but it also fills that role of Spellskite in disrupting things sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I really like it in Talion specifically because I think we have the highest density of blue pitch cards of anything in the format. We are on Force of Negation, Force of Will, Chrome Mox, Subtlety, Misdirection.
I was gonna say Misdirection.
Maybe Yuriko has more with like Commandeer as well, but like generally speaking, we have just such a density of blue pitch spells that I would love to have like free land drop cards that have utility that also do that.
Yeah, I wonder if I wonder if like some of the other high density of pitch spell decks one. I think Niv Mizzet has a high density of pitch spells. But this seems cool. Yeah, any deck that would play Commandeer Misdirection wants this. Plus, it's a unique effect, that kind of like this kind of redirecting thing. It's pretty hard to interact with. I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
It's hard to fuck with.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like I said, I'm testing it right now. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it also has the right stats, right? It's got that big 4 butt, so it's a good blocker, and it doesn't die to like Toxic Deluge for 3, which is what we want to do. So,
and these are so free, man. These are just so free. These spells.
It probably dies to whatever spell you're flashing it in for, but like,
yeah, not necessarily. If you're trying, let's say you're trying to Chain of Vapor my. You're trying to Chain of Vapor my children, and I cast this.
Right.
So good.
Oh, guess what? I have more mana. Would you like to try again?
exactly. Oh, and by the way, you can sack it to cast Flare of Denial.
Where they're trying to Molten Duplication, right? They're trying to Molten Duplication. They're a Tali, and then all of a sudden you just get another weird.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't work.
Why?
Multiplication can only target creatures.
Right.
Oh, you control.
So it has to be a legal
Shimmer.
target.
Did the Heat Shimmer hit then?
Yeah, Heat Shimmer.
Heat Shimmer would work. Yeah,
there's plenty of spells that it would work on. Like, yeah, there's plenty of spells where it works, but it's an interesting card. Like I said, I'm testing it already, and it probably will make the cut. I think. It's pretty solid.
Excellent. Next card.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's. I'm getting
next card. This card.
Hey, I think this card's trash, but whatever.
Get out of here. It's not trash,
dude. All the cards that people are really hyped about. I'm like, why? This card, next card, first black card, Nercodominance. We got our really shitty version of Necropotence with some upsides over Necropotence. Black. Same cost as Necropotence. Legendary enchantment. Fucking mythic. Skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life if you do draw that many cards. Your maximum hand size is 5, and I think the most important line of text on the card, if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So, please put Necropotence on the screen next to this card, Max, for the comparisons that I am about to just talk about. They both skip your draw step. Great. They both give you cards at end step. In that way, they're identical. Differences between them. Necropotence, you are paying the life in advance, and you are choosing how many cards you're putting, and then on your end step, you're putting those cards in your hand one at a time, which has some additional upsides to doing it one at a time. There are also additional upsides to doing it in advance, because people cannot fuck with your top deck tutors in the same way, where I can say, okay, Imperial Seal, put Born on top, put a Necro Trigger in the stack. If someone tries to Brain Freeze me, or Kodak Shredder or whatever, I can put another Necro Trigger on the stack. I can make sure that I get access to that card. I know I have it in exile ready for myself. This does not do that. This draws cards versus Necro, which does not draw cards. Necro puts them into your hand. We are in a Bowmaster meta. We are in a Shielder meta. Those cards are very relevant right now. Yes. So what's nice about this, though, is you do pay the life and draw the cards all in one trigger. So if someone decides to flash in a Bowmasters in response to your trigger, you know it's there. So it's not like you're going to get got by paying 30 life into this, and suddenly there's Bowmasters and you lose an extra 30 life. You will know the Bowmasters there during the resolution, but the fact that you are drawing the cards is a huge downside for something that is utilizing life loss to gain resource advantage. The fact that that's a huge part of the meta is a super big concern for the card. Your maximum hand size being 5, also very bad for the play patterns that Necro normally enables, where I say Necro is a plus B combo, where the A is Necro and the B is 2 turns. Your first turn is your setup turn, where then you get a hand of 7 cards that gives you access to your Born Upon a Wind or Final Fortune, and mana is generally what you care about. Having your maximum hand size be only 5 really limits your capability to sculpt that type of hand that allows you to win egregiously on the following turn. Then, the last line of text on this card, if you look at the decks that are utilizing Necropotence in a way where they are drawing most of their library, sometimes they're going for Thoracle. Yes, some amount of time that is what happens, but if you actually do the statistics on Necro, and if you've ever played this card, you know that the majority of the time you end up casting Underworld Breach. 100%. That is most of the time what you are doing. If you are in a deck like Zur or something like that, different story. Most of the time it is Underworld Breach. This does not allow that.
No.
Necro lets you breach even though it has an exile trigger, because you can respond with your Born Upon a Wind to the Necro triggers which go in the stack. This does not give you things that go in the stack, which means you are not able to utilize your graveyard in any way. Those cards are immediately gone forever the second they are discarded. And because it is a replacement effect and not a trigger to exile, also means that it loses one of the best parts about Necropotence, which is your ability to skirt around silence effects by using the cleanup step. This does not let you do that. This card is so much worse than Necropotence. The only world I'm playing this card is if I am a devoted Necro deck that is only trying to do Thassa's Oracle like Zur. I do not think this will end up seeing play in Rogsai. I know they're going to test it in Rogsai. I don't think it works there. You need the utilization of being able to go for Breach, you need a better setup turn with more cards in hand, and you need to be able to get around silence effects. You need to be able to want to be a deck that just wants to shoot it all in one turn like Zur, or this card is trash.
Well said, Max, but you're convinced right now that a nerfed Necro is not worth having a second Necro?
I think it's not just a nerfed Necro. It's a Necro that doesn't enable most of the play patterns of Necro.
Necro wants to do.
Yeah, like because if you think about Necro, it's great. Gets me around Ranger Captain. Gets me around Silence. Gets me around like everything when I'm doing the end step with Born Upon a Wind. Lets me breach. Lets me do my usual combos. It lets you do everything that you want to be doing. This is so narrow in what it enables. You have to be going for Thoracle, and you have to be not using your graveyard at all.
I agree.
And you can't get around silence effects.
I agree.
Like, it loses all three of those pieces of utility.
I agree with everything you said. I'm really happy that you touched upon all the major drawbacks. But I'm just thinking in a deck like none of us are. I mean, we played Rogsai, but we're not Rogsai guys. And like, I do think that deck comes down to like just a glut of mana, and they're wheeling for payoffs. Wheels are also like not optimal cards. They're doing everything to get to a payoff. They're just like mana, and they're just like ravenous for a payoff. And I feel like maybe their just desire for a payoff is so great that they would take something like this. I think they're going to try it for sure. Whether it sticks around, I don't know. You know, like cards come and go from the list. Like, when was the last time you don't really see Bolas's Citadel as much as you used to. You don't see Pure at all. You know what I mean? So I do think that their desire for payoffs is so great they will try it. Whether they stick around on it or not, I don't know. And I agree that the downsides you talked about are significant. They're not like, oh, this is like a nerf. This is like a card that intentionally has been neutered of like the real aspects of that make Necro so broken.
See, I think I agree with everything that you said in terms of its drawbacks, and I agree that it's not an easy card at all to play, and I think that it doesn't just slot in the way that people think it's going to slot in. I think that's completely incorrect, and frankly, it doesn't work in a lot of the decks that really want Necropotence anyway. Because if you're like you said, it does not work with Bolas's Citadel at all. Like, this does not provide Breach. The same benefits. It does not work with Breach at all. Like, those lines are completely shut out, and Necropotence decks want to do those things. I think where this card shines is I think Rogsai pilots with a very high level of skill can take this card and abuse the shit out of it, you know, with Born Upon the Wind, and win games with Mnemonic Betrayal, Thassa's Oracle, and they can use it to set up wins, right? I think that there's a little bit of deck architecture that needs to change to make it do what you want. Like, you need another way that you can remove an enchantment, your own enchantment. So Chain of Vapor is great, right? A bargain spell is great. You know, like Beseech the Mirror, things like that. You know, a little bit higher density of those cards means you can do things like draw 30 cards when you know you have Born Upon the Wind, cast the Born Upon a Wind, and find a way to win. You know, either by getting rid of the Nercodominance to play the Breach at some point in that line, or whatever.
You mean with Beseech? That's kind of
so like
that's fair.
That's
yeah,
high.
It's like, unlike Necropotence, where you could be brain dead. Like, I draw the cards and play Breach and I'm good. This is a threading the needle kind of situation where it can be extremely powerful, and in the right pilot's hands, absolutely win a lot of games that they wouldn't have won otherwise. But it's tricky and dangerous, and like, you really got to have your shit together, have your reps under your belt, and be able to play this card well.
We call these Zane Nair cards.
Yes, I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah, if you've got the skill level, this card's broken. If you don't have the skill level, this card will fuck you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way. Maybe Roxy does need more of those cards, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like, the removing the enchantment thing is, I think, very important for this card to work correctly, because, like, Necro only triggers when you discard. So one of the things you've always been able to do, you can still Brain Freeze yourself while you have Necro out. It doesn't make you exile the cards. You still gain access to those. They're sitting in your graveyard. It's fine. This is a true replacement effect.
Yes.
So, like, it needs to be off the battlefield before you do anything involving your graveyard. And that is an enormous hoop to jump through for Roxy, which does not want to hinder their card quality at all.
Right. Is that the same way as Yawgmoth's Will? Is it a replacement?
Yes. Yawgmoth's Will is a replacement.
Similar as Yawgmoth's Will. So I think people that are... There are people that still are on Yawg's Will and know how to thread that needle. I think that's a similar... Maybe it's closer to Yawg. Yeah,
it is.
The way...
Well, Yawg's Will is with an already set up graveyard. Is the
right. But you know what I mean? Like you...
But even that, like you can, like with Yawg Will, like you... There's a lot of games you've played the Yawg Will, and now Breach Line is offline, right? You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And a lot of times you're playing Yawg Will, and then you're casting a will from your graveyard to try to get more gas. I mean that happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, things get a little wonky, but like you can walk that line, you can walk that tightrope. It's just hard. You know, and I think the card is good enough. I think it will end up in most Roxy lists. I think.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are going to fuck it up.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's good. Should we talk about another broken black enchantment that people are really hype about, but it might not be as good as they think?
Do it.
Okay. Chthonian Nightmare. I'm glad I'm talking about it with people who might be trying out Chthonian Nightmare in a deck or two. Maybe not. I think it's a 1 in a black. It's an enchantment. It's allegedly an energy card, but not really. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You may pay X and 1 energy to sack a creature to return this enchantment to your hand, like Recurring Nightmare in a way. Return target creature card with CMC X from your graveyard to the battlefield, not X or less, and you can only do it at sorcery speed. So it is significantly nerfed Recurring Nightmare.
What do you mean nerfed Recurring Nightmare? This is power crept Recurring Nightmare.
No, because of what I want to say about it. I do think, you have. I was trying to do the dockside math, and Deverick kind of showed it to me. So
dockside count of 5.
Pay 2 for dockside, right? 2 for the Nightmare. 2. Don't you have to pay 2 mana as well to
no. So all you have to imagine is this, right? Like, let's say Dockside's in your hand, or Dockside, or like literally, it doesn't matter what the 2 creatures are as long as they're all CMC 3 or less. So here's the way it works.
Go for it.
Let's say you have random creature in your graveyard from throughout the game. Okay. Sounds good. So you can cast your Dockside, or your Dockside's in the graveyard. Like either way it works out. Yep. Once you start looping, the Dockside count being 5 is all that matters, because it's you don't ever cast either of the creatures again. You just cast the Chthonian Nightmare twice. So all you have to do is cast Chthonian Nightmare twice, which costs 4 mana. So a Dockside count of 5 goes infinite.
Because you net 1 treasure every time.
So let's say you cast Dockside for 2 mana, and Dockside makes a Dockside count of 5. So then you use 2 of that mana to play Chthonian Nightmare. You sacrifice the Dockside, you get back the other creature, so you're down to
and Nightmare's
3
back
treasures remaining.
No, you don't get the other creature. It goes to the graveyard. You sacrifice it, but you have to pay it CMC. What are you paying for that?
No, you don't have to pay.
No, it's energy. It's energy. You just use energy for the CMC.
Oh, pay
yes.
X. Oh, you're right. I'm wrong. We read it as pay X and an energy. It's pay X energy.
Yes.
It's X energy.
Yeah. So as long as it's 2 or 3 mana. As long as it's 3 or less mana, then it just goes infinite with.
My bad. I thought it was pay X and an energy. It's pay X energy. Sorry. I don't think I've really seen that before. Okay. So I'm totally wrong. Yeah, that's great. It does go with 5. We thought it was more. We thought it was mana and energy. It's just
No.
Oh,
yeah.
It's great then.
Just energy.
It's insane.
It's cracked.
Forget what I said.
Fucking insane.
Edit it out. This card's great. It's X. It's X.
So excited for this card.
I thought it was mana and energy, and I was like,
I built a whole new version of Timna Jessica because of this card. Because now you have the ability to not just set up Dockside loops with Cloudstone Curio, but now you can set it up with this as well, without needing a meal or without needing Sabertooth or any of that stuff. Just Rakdos, you get infinite mana. Yeah, with these two cards.
And Sabertooth is bulky. Sabertooth is bulky. Emil, like those
super
cards
clean. And the other thing is,
this card still has utility. Like this still does a lot by itself.
It's not like you lose it. Like you cast it and you get something back from the graveyard. It goes back to your hand, so you have it for later. Like you don't.
And one of the things I really like about it is it is a card that will continuously give you energy. So like even if you're starting by looping your smaller creatures, then you actually can reanimate a bigger creature. It does self provide.
Yeah.
Dang, man. Okay, this card's way better. I kind of love that.
You don't have to hit
on the show.
And there's a lot of different models where you don't have to hit 5, right? So if you have 4 treasures and one creature's a bowmaster and other creature's a dockside, you just win. Right? If you have a Burgian play, you only need 4 treasures, right? You need a dockside count of 4 to win.
This seems nuts though in Korvald, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It is crazy in Korvald. It is crazy in Omnixilus too. Holy shit. Because a lot of people were talking about how Ob isn't an outlet and how it doesn't work. And so I did the math for them. Yeah. I have, I think, 23 cards in Ob that work as outlets for this card.
Sure, that ping or do...
Makes sense.
Like, it's wild. Yeah. They either do pings or are tutors or are admins
or
are Citadel,
once they're in play, artifacts will trigger that.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like, there's so many cards.
Okay, and you know what I love about it, too? When we get a lot of the times we get great enchantments, but we're not in colors that can tutor enchantments. Like enchantments are really, really hard to tutor. We have like enlightened tutor and like idyllic tutor. There's like nothing. But if you're in black, everything tutors them. It's like black is like, it's cool.
The card's really good. So it's really, really good.
The card's crazy, actually. Okay, this card is better. This is awesome.
I've pre-ordered several copies of it at this point.
I really like the idea of you have a dockside in your graveyard and. Oh, you could tutor for reanimate if you want it, or you tutor for this and just make infinite mana. Like it's crazy.
Yes, it's stupid good, stupid good.
Which, for the record, if you because Dockside only has a CMC of 2, if you have a 4-mana commander like Omnixilus, you can use Omnixilus as the other creature going back and forth from the graveyard because you will net 1 extra mana, 1 extra energy from every Dockside use because you only use 2 of them.
Right.
So like I can use Ob with the dockside.
Yeah, it's really the card's really, really, really fucking broken. And there's so many cool synergies it works with, like, anything that discards, like it's just so easy to like play that game. Yeah. It does things with like what was I gonna say? Oh my god, my brain just lost it. Never mind, forget it. I'll cut that out.
Next
Boom,
card.
Gone.
No, leave that in.
Where'd it go? Holy shit.
Too high or too low?
Huh?
It's pre-selling for $14. Too high or too low? It's good price.
I got it for less than that though. I got it for.
You got it for less than that?
I got it for 11, and then I got the retro foil for $30, which I think was fine.
You think it'll be around like a $20 card at the end?
Yeah, it's a really good card.
It's a really good
card.
I think it's awesome.
Next card though. This is you, Max, right? This is you. No, it's me.
You.
Okay, Warren Soultrader. It's a zombie goblin wizard. It costs black and 2. It says pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token, and it's a 3/3. That seems pretty good. I was looking at it earlier, and I'm trying to figure out how to best utilize it. There's got to be a way to like do some kind of, ruthless technomancer type shit with it, right?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know what the combo is. I just know what combo is.
Yeah, same. like sacrifice dockside, create treasure. Bring back dockside.
It's a Phyrexian
somehow.
altar.
Like
it's literally a Phyrexian altar on a creature where you have life loss from it. But like, obviously the shit combos with stuff.
But
I don't even need to figure it out right now.
But getting treasures is better than getting mana.
Imagine having a Pitiless Plunderer in this at the same time. Just seems kind of dumb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This must do something in like.
It also doesn't say non-token creature. It says sacrifice any creature.
I mean, it's very easy with like regular Gravecrawler loops, like the normal stuff. Like it itself is a zombie, so you just need a Gravecrawler and a Blood Artist, and it goes infinite.
Well,
like super easy.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's worth trying out an index. There's a lot of people like throwing shade, being like, "Oh, the Black Dargo decks are not trying that." I mean, like you don't know. I don't know if I can curse on the show, but you don't fucking know until you try it. You know what I mean?
One thing I've been curious about. You know how Urza is just like this incredible card, and it's got a CDH deck. No one has tried Yawgmoth in a while. Just mono black Yawgmoth. And dude, I think if someone were to brew mono black Yawgmoth, you're throwing this shit in.
Oh,
there.
For sure.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
100% you're throwing this shit in.
This card has a huge potential. It's just we have to figure it out. Like I think we're going to see this become a thing.
I like the stat line on it. It's easy to cast, and it's a 3/3. That's
It's also
nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good card.
This card's very
Goblin, zombie, wizard, good types.
Yeah, it's got everything you need. So it's just a matter of figuring out where to slot it in to really break things.
Cool card. It's pre-selling for like $20, so people are.
I mean, also kind of wild. They gave it 3 of the top 5 creature types in Magic.
Is that
Yeah,
true?
they did.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, because the main 5 are human, elf, which aren't there, and
Yeah.
then zombie, goblin, wizard. Like those are the 5. Like each one of those represents one of the colors in their base format. This gives you 3 of the 5, which is crazy.
Yeah, I want to. Is there a way to make this work with like Hulk piles? It's got to be, right? You can do that.
There's
Maybe. I'm not even sure.
Let's see, Hulk piles. So you get this. You get. So this is a sack outlet. Then you get Blood Artist, and
You get Gravecrawler.
you get Gravecrawler. Yeah.
Gravecrawler.
So
Easy.
there's your pile.
Yeah, win the game. Just
Because
call
it's
Gary.
a zombie. It's a zombie.
Gary Hulk pile.
And Max, because this is a zombie, you can cast the. The problem with the Friction Altar is you usually need another zombie because you can't. People forget you need a zombie. Like that's the hard part.
So you could build the whole combo with one Hulk sack.
It is not instant speed because you need to cast the Gravecrawler, but yeah.
Okay.
Wait, Gravecrawler, Soultrader, and what was the other one you guys wanted?
Blood Artist, Zulaport, Cutthroat, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wonder if there's
anything that says when a creature dies, you gain a life, they lose a life.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think. You can't
Actually, you could use a card 2 cards ahead if we want to skip to it.
We can do that. Go ahead, Marionette. Go ahead.
So the other card that could combo in this combo is Marionette Apprentice, a card that everyone thinks I should play on Nixilus, and I absolutely will not be playing. It is 1 in a black. It has Fabricate 1, which is when it enters the battlefield, you can put a 1/1 counter it or make a 1/1 servo. And whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So it combos in this combo. It is not as good as Blood Artist effects because it's not whenever a creature dies. And it's not as good as Disciple to Vault because it's only when your creature or artifact goes in, not when your opponents do stuff. So it's worse in a lot of areas, but it technically works, and a lot of people think it's a good card. So, I put it on the list.
It's not bad. I know what you're saying. It's worse than the 2 things you want to do, but it's both of them on 1 card, and it does have 2 toughness. Again, we're saying 2 toughness is kind of nice lately. It's not the worst, and if you end up reaching for more of those effects, I know that I appreciate that heuristic of like commander-centric decks. Kind of the sweet spot is around like 8 cards that are just like totally nuts with the commander, but bullshit without them. So you're choked at that spot. You're not like reaching for other versions of that. If you were in a version that was digging deeper in like ob cards, you would reach for this.
Yeah, if you're really committed to Ob Nixilis, this is definitely a valid option. But like, what's so nice about Ob Nixilis is lots of your pingers will also trigger. Especially like there's 2 categories of Ob Nixilis pingers. There's proactive pingers and there's reactive pingers, and some work as both. Like Disciple to Vault works as both.
Yeah.
But when you look at cards like Disciple to Vault, Mayhem Devil, Cadaric Parasite, these are reactive pingers that are triggering. They're triggering off of the things that your opponents do.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at proactive pingers, you want them to be triggering on a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So that's where I get my Kessig Flame Breathers, my Reckless Fireweavers. Like those are happening constantly with everything I'm doing, and this is not doing that at all.
Where I was thinking of this card, I was looking at it pretty closely because I'm on my Timna Jesk arc at the moment, but I was also looking at like, okay, what if I wanted to run Timna Rograk, right? Get the speed of Rograk, and the problem with that in Mardu is that you don't have an outlet for infinite mana anymore because Jeska's not there. Rog doesn't do anything by itself. Timna doesn't do anything by itself, so you need other ways to win the game. This kind of feels nice in there because you can create 2 Timna attackers at the same time, and it's an outlet to win the game at some point. So it's kind of neat in that way. But I think it's I think there are better options. I think is really what it comes down to have the same effect. So I don't think
it works, but it's not.
Yeah,
great.
I don't.
Max,
think,
you should look at Matt Sperling's got a really hot list.
Oh yeah,
Timna Rock.
Yeah,
he like won fish. He was top 4 Fishbowl 3 with it. He did really well.
Oh, he played Italian. He played Italian.
I was Italian.
Oh, Fishbowl 2 then. Fishbowl 2.
Oh, yeah.
Tough.
I mean, I've been looking at it, but I think Jessica's just too powerful right now to go.
She's great right now.
And if I'm going to go a Rog deck,
so
I'm going to build
good.
either Rog Thrasher or I'm going to do the Rog Sai,
We love to hear it. The Rog Thrashers.
Yeah.
Rejoice.
All right.
I like to think of myself.
Now we go backwards in a little bit, and you want to do the 2 MDFCs?
Yeah, I'll read it, but I think you should talk about them because you're like, these are like.
Oh, what? Oh, you're losing
Italian card. I'll read them, but yeah, Bogart Trawler.
Yeah, I don't think this card's good, but yeah.
It's so bad.
3 for a 3/1. Enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard, and then you got Fel the Profane. 4 mana instant speed, destroy target creature or planeswalker. I think that one's good. It's a land.
It's bad.
It's a bad removal spell, but it's a land.
Bad.
But what I think is low colored decks, if these are just a land, they're not that bad. I mean, I'm not going to probably play the Goblin, but I mean, a shitty removal spell, but it's a land. They're already playing. There was a. What's the other one that was from like Zendikar? People were playing
Hagramauling.
Hagramauling, I don't know.
Yeah. Card's
I
also
don't think
bad.
this is.
So I think the
do you think?
black ones inherently have the most tension. I think,
Why?
where even if they were
your life?
decent cards, yes, where black decks are the most likely decks to care about their life total, and that's where the 3 life has an actual cost. And what's so nice about playing the green ones, the white ones, the red ones, whatever, is they're so free. Yeah, the blue ones, they're so free because most of the time you don't give a shit about your life total. So even though they're really bad, inefficient cards, you're like, whatever, it's kind of free value and it works for pitch spells and stuff. There aren't really any black pitch spells that you play, so you don't get pitch spells out of this. And, yeah, it's not even a Deadly Rog, it's a commander spell. And you care about your life total. So I think the black ones, regardless of whatever they were inherently the least likely to end up seeing play, and that's also paired with them being like the worst cards out of any of the pitch of any of the MDFC stuff.
I'm really excited.
So I don't really.
I'm really excited about these cards for limited on Arena. That's about it.
Probably excellent.
That'll be fun.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do a quick draft and try to pick these up in the quick drafts.
You guys want to move to red?
Yeah, let's move to red.
Yeah, let's get there.
You got it. Good.
Oh, is
it's
it
Tim? Because I just took those, or we just took those. Right?
Flare of Duplication. This is probably the most hyped flare, is it not? I think it is.
I think it is. I think
it's the most hyped flare. It's an instant. It's 1 and 2 red. You may sacrifice a non-token red creature rather than pay its CMC, similar to all the cycle, identical to the rest of the cycle. In turn, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You choose new targets for the copy. So it's fork, correct? Is that the text of fork exactly, or pretty close?
Yeah. Well, fork makes it red specifically, but,
sure.
But yes.
Yeah. It's close.
Like it is just the same as any reverberate style spell.
It's a fork effect, we call them, right? And I think the reason why everyone's clamoring for this one is Rogue Rack. There's a 0 mana red commander. Everyone knows it. If you're watching this show, you know it. If you're watching this show, this card's on your radar. I do think this one is the freest of the free spells, don't you think, guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, specifically because of Rog.
Because of Rog, yeah.
But I'm playing this in Florian too. I'm playing this in Florian, absolutely. Because again, it's one of those situations where it can protect a win for you, and if your commander isn't part of your combo, I have no problem sacrificing Florian on a win attempt to protect my win. No issues with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean that's Florian. You don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like. I think after the dust settles, this one might see the most CDH play. What do you think?
100%.
I think so.
I think this not even. Yeah,
close. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
this is going to by far.
Plus,
I've got it in rock grass. There's no doubt.
Every
about
red deck has plenty of disposable red creatures anyway. Like, okay, I'll sack, but the dockside I want to get off the field anyway. So
yeah, that's totally true. And also, so Max, like, would you play this in Ob because you just have red creatures or no?
I will consider it. The difference with Ob is that Ob's creatures all provide a lot of value. So if you actually look at, let me pull up the deck list here real quickly. Like obviously Ob Nixilis himself, not a creature I'm interested in sacking. Very, very important. If you look at my other creatures, like, am I fine to sack Ragavan? Sure. Am I fine to sack Dockside? Sure. Am I fine to sack Imp-Recruiter? Sure. Magda? Sometimes. But then if I'm looking at, like, Firebrand Archer, Kessig Flamebreather, Mayhem Devil, Bergie, Reckless Fireweaver, Prosper, like, no, I don't want to sack those. No. I want those
because they're part of your combos. Like, they're part of how you win the game.
They're very important.
This card would be a scoop. It's pre-selling for $12 right now. That's, I think, pretty cheap for that card. $12. Not bad.
Yo, CAAC financials right here.
That's not free.
Buy this card now.
Use promo
code GoldSabertooth.
Dude, I'm always about the financial tips.
Yeah, it's the card's broken. I mean, I don't know what else we could say about it at this point. I mean, like, it's going to see a lot of play, and like I said, red decks are just usually have red creatures that they can sacrifice anyway. So it generally just is most of the time a free fork.
So I say besides the Nightmare, it's probably the most powerful card we've talked about yet. What do you think?
I think it's actually we'll see more total play than Nightmare.
Right, but I think those are the two best cards we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I think in the same tier might be surprising, but I think Sink into
I knew you were
Stupor,
going to say
the
that.
blue
I knew you
MDFC,
were going to say that.
Unsubstantiate Land is I genuinely think that is one of the best cards from the set. The card is crazy.
I agree.
Yeah,
Next card,
you know which one I think is at the level, but we're not going to talk about it again. Strix Serenade, baby. All right, next card. I'll take this one. And this is like we've talked about it a little bit before. This is Powerbalance. Red enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the two spells have the same mana value. So, people were really hyped on this card. I think the hype has actually died down a little bit, rightfully so. There are specific decks where this card will be broken, specifically Elsha. Like Elsha, this card's really, really good in. Other than that, I don't think it's that great. You don't even think an Elsha's good?
I think this card is so bad, dude.
Okay.
But again, it's partially like my philosophy, my brewing, my style of play. I love consistency.
I'm with you guys.
And this is just not that.
Listen, I was with you guys to an extent, but then this is the great part about the game. Theory crafting, brewing, and then playing. I saw this card in action, and it was fucked up. Like, I was not prepared. Sorry to demonetize.
Was it consistent, or was it just high?
No, it was crazy because it ignores timing restrictions. And it was, I was like, whoa, great. They get a land, they whiff, big deal. No, the player is like Max Molinari casts like 6 spells off of it in a turn cycle. It messed.
Was that one game, though, or was that consistently
saw it in 2 games. It was great in every game. It was really good.
It's very spiky. It does have games where it can do some crazy shit.
Better than I thought.
Yeah. But,
way better than
I'm telling you, in Elsha,
way
because specifically Elsha knows what's on top of their library, and the deck is already built to clear the top of their library as often as possible, that deck will make this card shine. It's just a question of whether or not people are going to play enough Elsha, which it just hasn't been that popular in a long time.
With Necro, too, you can, not saying this happened, but, I was in a game the other day where, with Necro, you can clear the top of your library. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the only problem is you have Necro, you're looking to win the game. You're not looking to power balance anymore.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Reza, I'm just telling you, the card is one of the examples of a card that plays better than it looks. I was surprised. I was super low on it. It really was. It drew and more than drew. You think about playing a card, you without paying its mana cost. It's that's way better than drawing a card. It's mana and cards.
Yeah, I mean it's mana advantage and cards.
Yeah, but you have to have the ability. You have to have the ability to consistently manipulate the top of your deck in order for this card to really work.
And that's not something that
most decks
red decks do as much. Yeah, the thing with Counterbalance specifically, because it is blue, it is often paired with commanders that draw cards and Ristic and Mystic, and you're able to consistently change the top of your library, and that just naturally works with that play pattern. This card doesn't do that.
Yeah, but I think Stella will also play it. I think Stella's going to like it because you could do things like, you have the win in hand if only you could cast a third spell. Someone casts a spell, you get to copy it. You get that starts your your chain, and then you can win off it. I think Stella will want it. I think Elsha will want it. I think that's probably about it.
Yeah.
I think you'll see more of it than that. I think it's better than you think, but I understand why you guys think it blows.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it blows. I just think it's overrated.
I think it's overrated, but I think it's powerful.
All right, next up.
Next up we have the 2 other shitty MDFC lands that are just there because they are red cards that don't even pitch to many things, and I don't expect these to say a lot of play. One of them is a 5-mana Jin Monk with Prowess, where whenever it enters the battlefield, you can return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I think there's a small percentage chance that one sees some play in some decks that really want to get back specific spells. It's just a free thing that you can do. Maybe if you're a deck that is playing Fury, it goes up a little bit in value. And then Sundering Eruption, 2 in a red, 3 mana, sorcery. Really wish it was an instant. Destroy target land. This controller may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. I have no idea why it has the text of creatures without flying can't block this turn.
That's an effect. That's an effect.
so fucking weird. But essentially, it's destroy target land. Most decks aren't playing basics, so it lets you get rid of a land maybe on your land. I don't expect either of these to really see.
Pinnacle Monk will see some play in Kirk decks, specifically Kirk Thrasios and Quirk Sakashima, just because you run into that play pattern where like you cast a spell, you copied it goes to your graveyard, and to win the game you just need to somehow get that spell back, get that Gitaxian Pro back, get that Mog Salvage or whatever back. This can do that, and it's a land, and I think that's the only reason why it'll make it into those decks in some cases.
Before we talk about the next card, which is definitely I think it's an ob card. You'll know better than I.
Oh yeah.
I think this is an ob card in half. Before we talk about real quick, dude, I just want to say, none of you guys are interested in Party Thrasher?
No, I think Party Thrasher is trash and slow. The decks that are actually trying to consistently cast stuff from exile don't have a lot of creatures to consistently convoke, and it makes you wait a turn to get any value out of it from getting the extra card.
All right, well,
I don't think it's super good. I think like maybe in Prosper.
Okay,
really
cool.
it.
Just checking. All right. So do you want to take Unstable Amulet since it's your deck?
Okay, if you insist.
Yeah.
Next card is Unstable Amulet. Is an artifact that costs 1 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Unstable Amulet deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Oh my god.
Mwah! Mwah! I have this card in the deck already. I've tested it. It is cracked. I love it.
God.
Yeah, I didn't even take out a pinger to add this pinger. I just put the motherfucker in. I took out Ballista and Soul Cauldron so I could put this card in because I've hated that combo forever. So I swapped Ballista and Soul Cauldron for Chthonian Nightmare and fucking Unstable Amulet, and it feels great.
That's a donk,
dude. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's so nice because a lot of times when you are chaining with Ob Nixilis and you are going, the thing that can stop you is hitting too many lands and creatures because most of your pingers are triggering on non-creature spells and artifacts. And this is a card that doesn't give a fuck what you hit. It just says, cool, did you cast it from anywhere else? And if the answer is yes, you get a ping.
Yeah.
And it also is a self-starting engine because it lets you tap itself with the cost of 2 energy to exile the top card of your library. And it's not just until end of turn. It's not just you may cast that card this turn.
So stupid.
You may play it until you exile another card
so
with
good.
Unstable Amulet. So like the one time I had this card, I just played it, tapped it, even though I was tapped out to see what the card is, I got Gamble. I waited 3 turns to cast that Gamble, but it stayed in exile under my Unstable Amulet until I was ready to start
really
that
good.
chain with Gamble.
It's also
Card's
good in
messed
Prosper.
up.
It's good in a lot of decks.
Yeah,
card's really
Excellent
strong.
Excellent card.
Rakdos fans rejoice.
It does not. It does not. Unfortunately, it does not work in Florian at all because I'm casting.
Good.
I'm casting the spell from exile after combat, so I don't get the benefit of the ping at all. So it just doesn't help me. But
You're giving you a Florian
So
card.
the reason that Florian's worse than Ob.
But I will say, again another card I'm happy to see where like not a blue farm card, but this card is like a crazy
Really good
card.
it's good in a lot. It's going to be good in a lot of decks. I think this is a card that you can build on, and it will eventually make new decks viable because it's that good. It's that good. Yeah.
I love this card. I love this card.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, and it's like weird backdoor way. It's like if you're on, I don't know, you're probably not on breach lines in Ob, but like if you're casting spells from your graveyard,
I'm sorry.
Are you?
Fucking
all right.
Breach deck.
That's the most.
You just-
That's the 100. It's the most common way I win the game.
Oh, okay. You just win with that because if you're just chaining spells from your graveyard, you're gonna kill the whole table.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
I'll put it like
cool
this:
as
if
hell.
I'm playing Talion or playing Op, I'm countering this spell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I'm countering Unstable Amulet.
I will be.
I'm spell snaring that
and I'll
shit.
whine about it.
Yeah,
and
you
I'll
will.
whine
You
about
will,
it.
and I'll be right to do it.
Yeah.
You'll be like, hold on, that's my present impersonation of Wounded. Bro, I'll show you my hand.
Yeah, that's exactly what he do. That's exactly what he do. Oh, are we getting? Oh yeah, we're getting Suki. We're getting Suki'd over here.
Oh, hey, girl. He's like, would you counter this spell?
You would counter my amulet? How could you?
Dude, I gotta give
Uh-huh.
What do you think about that?
Yep,
She
exactly.
says, don't do it.
She says, "Don't touch Daddy's spell." What was that? What was that?
Get spell snared,
She
motherfucker.
said you're a piece of
Oh,
shit.
guess what? Guess what else counters the spell, right? Because it's an
Yeah?
artifact.
Are you gonna say Strix Serenade? You fucking piece of shit.
Serenade, dude. Get
Oh,
better.
it does.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
You guys want to talk about green cards?
You can Strix if you Strix Serenade my amulet, I won't be mad about it. That's a
It's
valid
so
use.
weird.
Because it's like, what else are you gonna get that even could work for it? That's like your only target for the spell. It's so neat.
I don't know. Big fucking giant flying trample demon. You can counter that too.
Maybe I'm usually playing him on turn 1 when you're tapped out. So
Tapped out. When are you going to hold up
Yeah.
one?
What are you gonna do? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a free spell.
No, I'm
Oh,
tapped
man,
out.
this
I can't sacrifice my talent to counter your ob.
I will take that trade, and we will lose together.
Exactly.
Dude, I want to be in the pod. I want to be in the pod.
You know what? This is the Max response to that. Like, he would just be like he's talking, smiling, and then all of a sudden, okay.
Do this while I have a wristic out, please.
You got it, bro. Sure.
All right. Moving on.
Eladamri, Korvecdal, 1 green, 3/3. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. It's an elf warrior. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And then, interesting ability, a green and tap it. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. In the deck that's going to play this, you're probably going to have creatures. Reveal a card from your hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. Activate only during your turn. That's kind of cool. Anytime you can cheat a creature into play and ignore the stack, it's pretty cool. Again, I don't know what deck this goes into, but it's really freaking cool.
I think there's 2 decks. I think 2 decks that it fits in really nicely. One is Sisse, right? Because it is legendary. Right, and it also can solve the problem where you accidentally draw one of the pieces you actually want to tutor for, right? Because now you can put it into play. It also goes really well in Nacatl, right? Because number 1, it's a warrior.
It's a warrior.
Yeah, and
put Derevi into play.
Exactly.
Ignoring the stack is so cool. I mean, I think that's excellent.
And it might not be the most viable deck, but higher style Big Flips Cannon, Snap Include. That deck is on like 40 creatures and like 3 instants. Like,
I should ask him about it. Man, this is a cool card. Again, it's another one example I kind of love about this set. There's so many cards where I read them, I'm like, that is a cool freaking card. I don't know where it's going to go. Someone's going to find it. But especially in those lower color green decks, playing stuff off the top of their library is an excellent for card advantage. Not too long ago, maybe it was one of Lamora's videos. They were talking about some Japanese lists, and they were running like Elven Chorus, and that card is a really cool card that we don't see a lot in our meta. But playing stuff off the top of your library is gas. It's like for these decks.
I think that this card is not even broken enough. Like I feel like this is again a case where Wizards had the opportunity to provide green with something that's really a difference maker and makes green more playable, and they missed it. And I would remove 2 things from this card. Okay, 1 is the last sentence. It should not say activate only during your turn. I want the ability to do this at any time, at instant speed, and I don't think that's even too broken, right? Because this is a green 1 card. You're gonna have to be a pretty green deck to play it. They should have that ability. And the second one is, I don't think you should have to tap. I think you should pay 1 green and be able to activate the ability.
Get the fuck out of here. What?
I'm serious. 100%. Like, 100%. Like, give them the ability to do something fucking cracked. Like, stop holding them back. Sure. Like, they deserve it. Like, if you want green decks to be viable and be powerful, then you need to give them cracked abilities.
Nothing I want more than instant speed oofs all the time.
Yeah.
Mark Rosewater, can you hear me? I want you to hire my friend Max Pepperman, please. Bring him on. He's got some ideas.
Still working.
He's gonna get us out of this. Great hell.
There he goes. He's back. Yeah. You're back.
He's back.
Oh, I cut out. I was pleading to Mark Rosewater to hire you.
Yeah, absolutely. Which
I would love to do some card design. I'd have a blast with it.
Yeah.
Green S%. No
yeah. So moving on to the next green one, same thing. Like, this is another card that is not broken enough. This is Fanatic of Rhonas. It's green and 1. It's a 1/4 mana dork. You could tap it to add green.
One of the best mana dorks.
It's almost good enough. It's almost, but make it more broken. And then it says ferocious. You can add 4 green, but you can only activate it if a creature you control with power 4 or greater, and you could eternalize it for green, and 2. Which, if you eternalize it, then it works.
This thing is infinite combo dot fucking.
No, it needs to be. It needs to add 5 green. Okay, not 4. Okay, and it needs to say power or toughness 4 or greater.
And it triggers itself.
Well, no, you can make it say. You can make it say if you control another creature with power 4 or greater.
It triggers itself.
But it does trigger itself anyway because you eternalize it and it does it, right?
It's free. No, listen, dude. This card is This card is fucking great. There are decks
awesome.
there are CDH decks that have reached for such cards as like Somber Wild Sage and Circle of Dreams Druid. This I would rather reach for this any day. 4 toughness, 2 mana. And it makes 4. I floated this out on the Discord with some of the teamer players, and they were trying to like run me out of the Sandlot, being like, "What? When are we ever gonna play this with Dargo?" I was like, "Dude, it's a 4 mana. It makes 4 mana, and when we're playing that deck, green's hard to come by. You know what I mean? And like, if I think this is excellent. I think
it's almost good enough. It's almost good enough.
I think it's good. I think
if it is turned on. It goes infinite with Derevi Emil. It goes infinite with Sword of the Pay Runes. It goes infinite with Umbral Mantle. It goes infinite with literally all of those types of things. It is also just fucking crazy. It literally tells Bowmasters in a Russian accent that you think this is bad neighborhood. Like, it fucking tells it to fuck right off, dude. It's got a big butt, and I mean, it's a great card. This is a great card.
Max.
This is a card I will have to consider for Kinnan.
This is basically like a Grim Monolith creature. It's cool as hell, man. This card is awesome.
It should add 5. It should add 5 green.
Sure, bro.
100%.
Unbanned Blacklet.
It should be a legendary creature too, so I can play Insensei.
Dude, Modern Horizons 4, Max Pfefferman Unleashed. What is it going to have?
Let me add it, dude. Let me add it. Yes, 100%.
All right, I'm going to talk about 6.
Yeah.
Or maybe
also not broken enough. Go ahead. No, you do 6. Do 6.
All right, 6. 2 and a green for a 2/4 reach. When it attacks, mill 3 cards. I know what you're going to say because I said the same thing. When it attacks mill 3, you may put a land card from among them into your hand. So among the milled cards. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. For those of you who don't know at home, retraces, you can cast a spell, but you got to discard a land in addition to its cost. I agree. It would have been sweet if this had an ETB mill.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
You need an ETB mill.
Exactly.
And
any land. Why has it got to be from among the cards?
Among the cards.
Give me any land, back.
Thank
Give me
you.
a land.
Thank you. Yes. Now you're getting it.
As somebody who played a lot of those decks that have that kind of like Grizzly Salvage effect, you want it to be anything in your graveyard, not just among the milled cards. The Satyr Wayfinder effects, the best ones get you mill and then you get whatever you want. Not you mill and you only get from the milled. I would have made those 2 things. I don't think it would have made the card busted. Like too busted.
Yeah, I would have been fine. It would have been totally fine.
Green deserves it.
But like no one's playing this card for the first ability anyway. Or I guess the second ability, because technically it has reach. But the final ability the final ability is where this card is fucking awesome, because finally we get breach piles in green that are just awesome.
True.
You can get Underworld Breach 6 Reanimate. You can get 6 Eternal Witness Breach. You can get like all kinds of different piles that just say, I am getting an Underworld Breach.
Yes.
What would you like to do about it? And it's.
Do you have a Mind Break trap? You don't? Okay, well then you're fucked.
You don't? Cool. I
still have it.
I have an Underworld Breach now. And like, I mean, it lets you get back anything. Like, there's no limit on the CMC of the card. It just has to be a permanent card, right?
That's cool.
So it has to be a permanent card.
Any permanent.
Yeah, non-land permanent cards. So like, people talk about Sinkinna, just get back my Basalt. Like all this type of bullshit. Like no matter what you are, green now has consistent graveyard recursion, where we have a creature that we can tutor for, and it's not just a singular card like Eternal Witness, where we have to cast a spell from our hand over and over again. It's just there, and all we gotta do is discard a land, and we keep getting it back. It has infinite combos with stuff like Life from the Loam. Where you're able to keep kind of cycling through to mill yourself out. It's a really, really cool card.
I will say, as somebody who plays Magic and doesn't just think about Magic or draw Magic cards, and you guys, I'm sure you know, recursion spells like Regrowth effects, Eternal Witness effects, they're always like the first to cut when you're brewing, but then when you're playing, you wish you had them.
Yeah.
When you're gold fishing, no one's blowing your shit up or countering anything. When you're playing a game, they're countering shit, they're blowing shit up, they're milling shit, and you want it back.
Yeah.
And like Eternal Witness always plays better than it does on Moxfield. You're like, I should probably cut Witness, and then you're like, dang, I wish I had my Witness to buy back X right now. I need that Machine God's effigy or whatever it is. This is hot for that reason, because it gives you like a repeatable access to a regrowth effect. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff you want to buy back is not a spell. It's a permanent. right? It's not like
Yeah.
I don't think that limitation is that much of a limitation.
No, it's really good. It's really fucking good.
No, it's really
It's
fucking
really
powerful.
good.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like, you do need, like, it is a build around to some extent, where, like, I think you might want combos with Life from the Loam, or you're just, like, assembling your Breach combos, your Sands White Style Intuition piles are really, really good. But yeah, I mean, regrowth effects are
If only there was
if
only there was an Abzan commander that does dredge somehow.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
Maybe we'll talk about it, even though we already talked about it last week. But
Yeah.
We'll pretend we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, regrowth effects are good. That was like why Colossal Sky Turtle was a revelation for me when I added it.
Yeah.
Because now I just had like, oh, I get back any card. That's cool.
Card's way better than people think.
All right. Springheart Nantuko. Is this mine? Who's this one? Yeah, this is mine. Yeah, sure. Springheart Nantuko. It is a 1 enchantment creature insect monk. It's a 1/1. It says bestow 1. It says enchanted creature gets +1/+1. It says landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If Springheart Nantuko is attached to a creature you control, if you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature. If you didn't create a token this way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. This card goes fucking nuts with Nadu. Goes fucking crazy.
Yeah. Not only did they print Nadu, they printed its best friend.
This is nuts.
This card's wild.
This card is nuts.
Like Nadu only cares about the landfall token creation, but then there's also a lot of decks that care about the bestow style part of it. We're like, okay, I will pay 2 mana when I play a land. I would like to make another Atali. I will pay 2 mana when I play a land, and I would like to make another Dockside. Like, there's a lot of very powerful ETB creatures where now every land you play comes with pay 2 mana, you clone it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. This card,
crazy.
this is in my mind secretly maybe the best green card in the set. Secretly.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Just
I think 6 is,
right.
but
the fact
I think 6 will have the biggest overall impact for sure.
This card is insane though, but you know the other thing too for Nadu players, bestow, you're going to target Nadu, correct?
Yeah.
So you'll get a Nadu trigger on bestow, and then if you're chaining off and like you feel like you're like stumbling, you could pay the 2 and then legend rule it. Do you know what I mean? And like reset
Nadu.
Yeah. Oh, it resets. Yeah, Max. This resets Nadu, and then like you keep chaining, and like because the choke point in Nadu is the number of Nadu activations you have 2 per turn.
Yeah.
So, no, I got to do this the other day.
Yeah.
You token copy Nadu.
Yeah. And fun fact: when you bestow something, and then you like if you did that, if you bestow Nadu and then
it just
you
drops off.
Nadu on a land, it drops off, but it
drops
becomes
off.
a creature.
Yes.
It becomes a creature, so you still have the make the. This is so fucking cool. That's so sick.
It is
awesome.
nuts. So they must have made this card with like the synergy. They're hoping that somebody would
I don't
do
believe
this.
that they. I firmly believe that they stumble into everything, and they stumbled into this too. But
They did not play. For the record, there was no shot in hell they play tested.
No way.
As a card.
No way. No way. That card's stupid. They the design on that card's like, guys, come on, seriously.
All right, here we go. Tim, GoldSaber's big finance tips. I'm going to tell you what. I got the. I'm going to tell you how much this card is. If this is under $10, get one.
It's like 15 right now.
It's 15. All right, cool. Then wait. Just wait. Then wait for it.
Just wait.
All right. No. It came down a foil you can get for $11.88 right now with shipping.
Okay, I fuck with it. I fuck with that.
Yeah. It's really sweet card. I really think it's powerful. I felt really happy. I played Cephalid Breakfast in Legacy, so I had a bunch of Shukos around. So feeling like the genius. Card's awesome though. This card's sick.
Am I up for Thief of Existence?
Yeah, it's you, buddy.
I don't think this card's that good, but just a lot of people have talked about it. It's a generic specific, you have to use colorless, and a green, 3 total mana. Generic, specific colorless green. Creature Eldrazi, devoid, so it's technically no colors, which doesn't really matter in CDH. Sort of. When you cast a spell, exile up to 1 target non-creature, non-land permanent opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, it gains when this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. It's essentially like Beseju style. It's a triggered ability piece of removal that's really difficult to counter. So if you're in like a mono green deck and you need to get rid of something specific, this is a very, very hard to counter and interact way of getting rid of something.
Yeah.
The cast triggers on Eldrazi's are just fucked up. They're just they're really tricky, hard to deal with. I
don't think this is one we got to delve too far
into.
No.
But honestly, ironically, like I would feel better about this card if it was a ETB trigger rather than a cast trigger, just because, like I can't like Court of Calling for this to answer a problem, right? I have to actually cast it, and it doesn't have flash. So it's sorcery speed, awkward removal that's got a weird casting cost, and
it could have had flash. I agree with you. But Max, I do think it's just like flavor-wise. If it's an Eldrazi,
it makes sense.
It
makes sense. My son will play it in his Eldrazi deck for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Look out, guys. So if you're playing against Max's son, be ready for it.
Yeah.
Be ready for
it. Okay.
All right, Saber. Let us know about these MDFCs.
MDFCs. Okay, so we've got the Bridgeworks Battle, which I've already seen in some decks. 2 and a green for sorcery. Target creature you control gets 2/2 until on a turn and fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. I saw that Ian's testing this in Atali. And then the other one, it's overcosted fight spell, but it's a land. So it's remove on a land. The next one, a lot of people are talking about. It's not a human. It's an elf druid. It's 6 for a 3/3. ETBs. It's got Life's Legacy, sort of. Sack another creature. If you do, gain life, gain X life and draw X cards or X that creature's power. Maybe it's Momentous Fall. I forget.
It's Momentous.
It's
Momentous
a
Fall.
Thrasher starter card, right? I mean, that's...
Maybe it's like so overcosted that it's hard to do. It's like some people want it in Kinnan. I don't really care about it in Kinnan.
It's so overcosted, but again, Life's Legacy. Momentous Fall is a 4-mana card. This is 6 mana, but you get a 3/3. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
I just wish they gave us like a 3-mana Life's Legacy. It would have been so much better. Like so much more playable.
Yeah.
But it's a green card, so what do you expect?
Yeah,
not bad.
They had to make it 6 mana triple pips. Like fucking what, dude?
I think we'll end up seeing these somewhere. I don't know where. Again, they're pretty free in decks that don't play black, right?
Yeah.
And no, I feel like less people are playing Sylvan Library than ever. So.
Well, so actually, like the one deck that plays this card 100% and like loves this card is actually Mono Green Volatile Storm.
Okay.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, they already play all those.
There you go.
The ultimate. Hey, I have Sylvan in my meta. Okay, I play against that deck.
Okay, all right, yeah.
It's not all EDH top 16 guys. Come on, Sylvala's out there.
Sylvala is the deck you gotta respect when you're against it, bro. That shit's gonna.
Yeah, you respect it. You respect it just enough to completely blow it out of the game and then move on with your life. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't lose to it.
Yeah. Don't ignore it. Like it can win the game. Just don't let it.
Just going crazy.
Yeah.
Next card, who's goes in this card? I know you guys don't like the deck it goes into.
This is Max's deck, right? Like this is Max's card, right? Yeah.
Is it my card? It's definitely not my deck.
I don't understand why this card's here. I don't get this card at all. So go ahead.
My deck.
Explain it to me.
Wait, actually, you don't understand.
I mean, other than Trash Can.
Bruh, no, it's not just trash. It's also just a 2-mana infinite combo.
With what?
2-card infinite combo. Rosy Cotton.
And Sadistic
Sorry, who?
Sadistic Bleed.
Rosy Cotton, baby. Every time a creature enters, you put a 1/1 counter on your creature, and then you get infinite little scions, and then you have infinite colorless mana.
So it's in
for 2 creatures.
Thrasios deck, you just win.
Yeah, Rosy Cotton, bro. You don't know about the Rosy?
Yeah, bro.
you don't know about Rosy, my guy.
Sadistic. The other card's Sadistic Glee. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Get out of here.
It's a 2-card infinite mana combo.
Yeah, but in something you're never gonna play ever.
And it also is like absolutely cracking time. Yes,
Time is good. Time is good. It's not good in anything else.
So good at time. It gives you counters. It gives you more bodies. Like this is
everything you want. But Sadistic Glee is 1 black for an enchant creature. That's it. And it's whenever any creature is put in your graveyard from play, you put a 1/1 counter enchanted creature.
Boom, infinite colors.
What is that? What is this?
Sadistic Glee. It's the reason why this is like a $6 common right now.
Okay.
But
all right.
It's an enchant. It's an 1-mana aura. It's 1 mana. 2-card combo.
I guess the next card is also another Abzan Trash Can card, right? Evolution Witness.
No.
Right? And it's another.
No, I don't think I play this.
No, that is not the deck it goes in. Would you like me to continue and just go to the next one?
Yeah, go on.
The next card is Evolution Witness. It is 2 and a green creature, Elf Shaman Mutant. 1, 2, and we didn't even read what Basking Broodscale did. Basking Broodscale is 1 and a green creature, Eldrazi Lizard with Devoid, 1 and a green adapt. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Basking Broodscale, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token with sacrifice a creature out of colorless. So whenever you put a counter on it, make a Scion, which has infinite combos. Evolution Witness is whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Evolution Witness, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. This is going to see play in exactly 1 deck, and it's very, very good in this deck, and that deck is Kenrith.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Because in Kenrith it reads 2 mana, return any card from your graveyard to your hand repeatedly.
So
any permanent.
Wow. Okay, so that makes those
yeah, because Kenrith can just
version loops a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because Kenrith just
You
puts
just put
counters
counters
on
on
it.
Yeah, this is a Kenrith card, 100%.
Okay.
It's a pretty good card. These
You gotta open your mind, Max. You gotta open your mind.
These are commons too. These are powerful commons.
I love when you tell me why the fuck is this on here, and then you're like, oh, okay.
I expect that at this point. Like, it's a surprise when like you give me a reason. I'm like, wait, that doesn't happen anymore. Like, that's very rare. Like, usually when you have it in here, it's in there for a good reason. I'll give you credit. Like, generally, you're on point.
I appreciate that.
You want to talk about artifacts?
Yeah, we're here. Tell
right,
us about
Winter
this
Moon.
new thing in the sky.
Yeah, two mana for a Winter Moon. Players can't untap more than one non-basic land during their untap steps. Again, I don't know what to think about this. If someone wants to play it, I am so anti. I just don't think Stacks is a viable way to be playing CDH right now. But if they do, I think this is a cool card. But it's not for me. I think I agree with what Max P said earlier. Where like lands are just an increasingly less important aspect of CDH, which is why I like playing with lands right now. I'm exploiting lands. I'm playing Burgeoning in a lot of decks. I think it's really cool. Pretty cool in Nadu actually, because sometimes you just have to play a lot of lands to keep chaining, and then you have a Burgeoning so they're not stuck in your head early. It's not bad. And I play. It's better than you think. It's pretty cool. It's brewable. It's not like a dunk.
I feel like I'd rather just play Exploration, but yeah.
Exploration is probably better. Yeah, they're both cool. Yeah. But Winter Moon, what are you guys thinking? Which deck wants Winter Moon?
Urza.
Oh, I think it's trash.
Urza plays it. Urza loves it.
A lot of people are. Urza hasn't even been playing Winter Orb anymore. Like Necro cut it.
No, maybe he did, but like I'm telling you, like if your Urza Stacks is getting a little bit better.
Yeah, but there's only there's one true dominant.
Look, if you want to go to a tournament and you're gonna play 7 rounds and you want to get 7 points, you play Urza Stacks, okay?
100%,
and you will get 7 points.
You will get 7 points. And honestly, if you do that, it feels like you've won the event. Like if you could pull that
100%. Like.
Yeah. Okay.
Use promo code MaxP for more game. Yeah, let's be quick. The only thing worthwhile about this card is Drew Baker. The actual original painting is like 8 feet by 8 feet or something.
It's huge. That's cool. Yeah, I saw it. It's crazy.
That's the only thing worth saying about that card.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Next card. What do you guys think of Null Elemental Blast? It's a colorless. It's an instant. You choose one. You counter target multicolor spell. You destroy target multicolor permanent. I don't think there's enough multicolor spells in CDH that people are talking about.
And you have to pay. And you have to play specifically colorless. You can't even do.
You have to play colorless.
You can't even do that's real bad. It's real bad. Moving on.
It's cool, but not for me.
Yeah. Trash. Moving on. Max P, tell us.
Yeah, Vexing Bauble is an interesting card. It's a 1 mana artifact. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell, and you can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it to draw a card. So it's like a Lavinia effect that affects everybody. It's symmetrical, but you can sack it to draw a card. So this is a card that I fucking hate because it makes the player seat 1 position even worse. Because if you're in seat 1 and you play this, you have fucked everybody else over, and you get a huge leg up over everyone because you can play out your early turn and then Vexing Bauble and give everyone the finger. It's I hate this card.
This card's great.
I fucking hate this card.
This card's great. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I hate it.
It's so powerful because it's an incredible stacks effect that you can just get rid of when you want to win.
I feel like Magda wants this. They're already playing Chalice, right? You know what I mean? If you're playing,
I think almost any deck that's like Turbo can play this pretty effectively.
Yeah.
I think really interesting. If you look at the Tim Najeska list that Shiver runs, he's on the whole Chapel of Chernobyl list. He always runs Soul Guide Lantern, which I always hate that card. I think this card actually fits that same slot, but maybe a little bit better. I think that card's real good.
Kind of a little. Yeah, it's like a little mini defense grid in some ways to protect your turn. The other thing that's interesting about it is it's got that kind of Boromir thing where it's like it's also not going to like win the game for someone by accident because you could sack it.
There is the danger of bad players doing things where they go and they tap out and they play this card and they don't have the mana left to sack it. and the next person turn order is like, cool, thanks, now I'm protected, you know.
Yeah, I'm protected.
I mean, I think good players won't do that though, right? We're talking about how the card should play.
Agreed. I think it's a real good card. I think I'm considering it for a lot of decks actually myself.
Yeah, the fact that you can sacrifice it whenever you're ready to do other things is like what's wild about it. It's a very, very powerful effect.
Yeah.
This card, the next card, Eldritch Immunity. I've never even seen it. I'm reading it for the first time. It's interesting because I guess it's from the Commander set. It's 1 colorless mana. It's a devoid Eldrazi instant. It's a colorless spell. Target creature control gains protection from each color on a turn, and it's got Overload for 5. I don't know what deck plays this. It's interesting.
Liberator.
What is it? Liberator?
No, Liberator. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just a protection spell.
The fact that it requires colorless kills this card. It just kills this card.
Sure.
You know,
I like that it has the overload. I like the overload on it.
He's right, especially because the overload thing means that like everything's unblockable. Protection really means things can't block stuff, which I think like is a thing. I don't know if it's relevant.
Like if anything, it'd be a great card for Nadu.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the best card in the whole set? I think it's Nadu.
I mean, I don't think we need to go too deep into it because we talked about it so much last week. But yeah, the next card is Nadu Winged Wisdom. 1 green-blue, legendary creature, bird wizard, flying. Creatures of you control. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library if it's a land card, put it under the battlefield, otherwise put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. I read that fast because you probably heard it a million fucking times. This card is absolutely broken.
Yeah.
Absolutely broken. It's super fun to play. It's probably miserable to play against. If you want to hear more about Nadu, go back to last week's video. And also, I'm sure a billion people have talked about it a ton. Which also the next card fits into a similar category. You want to let us know about it, Saber?
Yeah, the next card is Necrobloom. It's better Abzan, Gitrog. It's 1 in Abzan, so 4 for 2/7. Big old booty. It's got Field of the Dead on it. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a plant. But if you've got 7 or more, it's got the clause of Field of the Dead. You get a 2/2 zombie.
Yeah.
And then the big part, every land you have has Dredge. This is like this card's messed up. I saw that Pontus was playing this with Fluctuator and the Cycle lands. You just like mill the whole deck, right? Am I mistaken? Like that would just work, right? Because
So if you have a way to cycle for free, and yes, because you discard the card. So you discard the card as cost to cycling, so it is in your graveyard when you want to draw the card.
Oh, cool.
So it just mills your library.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think definitely the build of this is not ready yet, but when we see it, I think it'll be a real deck. Maybe the fact that you could have Gitrog with white for silence effects is awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's also like Gitrog is a backup plan in this deck. It doesn't have to be the primary combo. It's a deck that just gets to run the Gitrog package as part of it.
I mean, you saw some of the advantages that have just come out. I mean, you can run 6 in this deck. It's real good in here. You can run the 3 mana, the what do you call it? The altar of the Phyrexian altar guy. That runs really well in here with Hulk combos. Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot to this deck.
It's cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna work on it a bit. Like I've already started to a little bit.
Cool, let's see your list.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be top tier, just because you got to run some low quality cards to really make it work. But I think it's an interesting card. It's an interesting deck. Yeah. Moving on. Archway of Innovation. This is a land. It says Archway of Innovation enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island. You can tap it for blue. You can pay blue and tap it, and the next spell you cast this turn has Improvise, which means you can use your artifacts to help cast that spell. So, yeah, I don't think this card is as good as people think it is. You know, just because
this isn't Tolarian Academy, dude.
It's kind of Tolarian Academy if you squint really hard.
Yeah, the problem is that most of the artifacts you're playing in CDH tap for mana, and it doesn't really help that you can tap your mana rocks to create mana, right? It just doesn't.
I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it in like I wish Magda could play it. Funny enough, obviously it's blue and they can't, but like Magda would do really, really well with it. Tivit, I could see a Tivit deck potentially utilizing it to some extent. But it's also like you'd want to be casting a really big spell with it.
Yeah,
is the problem, and Urza doesn't actually have. Or sorry, Tivit doesn't actually have a bunch of really, really big spells. So, like, yes, I'm not sure where it fits. This is just a card to keep in mind. There could be a deck for it in the future if you're trying to do some big splashy spell. Maybe if you're trying to resolve a fucking energy.
And Blue's Clues could be good if you get.
I could see
create
that.
some clue tokens, maybe. I don't know.
That's a good point.
I mean, their spells, their deck is very lean and efficient.
Yeah, I agree.
What about but what about like one of those like weird Lannis decks that's making a lot of clues? It's a good thing to do with clues.
Yeah.
To give clues improvises.
I can see
That's
Lannis
cool
is a
because
really
you
good
can't.
It is, but the problem is those decks need a lot of help, and this isn't enough. You know,
Blue Magda when Wizards. Come on, give us Blue Magda.
Yeah.
Give us Blue Magda.
Give us Blue Magda.
That's from your lips to God's ears. We're going to see that next set. Yeah.
The next land does have a very clear home, though. Arena of Glory. Arena of Glory enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. All of the next couple lands we're going to talk about work the same way with their individual colors. Adds a red mana, or you pay 1 and a red. Exert Arena of Glory. I'm surprised it has to exert. Add 2 red mana. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. This is cool. This is really, really cool. The immediate home that comes to my mind is old school Narset and Light Master. This is like a snapping that deck where you just want to cast Narset and have it have haste. It's really nice that it gives you 2 red mana, which means you could theoretically give 2 creatures haste as long as you spend like 1 of the red on each of them to make that function. What other homes?
That's cool.
So any deck that's doing welder things, Goblin Welder, because I can now play Goblin Welder with haste, right?
That's cool.
Which means I don't have to wait a turn to do the thing. I think it's good in Florian. It's a pretty solid card. You know, the fact that I can give haste to whatever I'm trying to throw in the battlefield. I think it's legit.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
they find a home in a lot of decks? Magnet doesn't need haste.
I don't think
Magnet does not need haste.
Yeah, Magnet doesn't need haste, and also like the fact that the land exerts is a little bit of a cost. So I think it's like Narset doesn't give a shit about that, right? Because they're just casting free spells. But there are going to be some decks that like losing the land drop for the turn is.
You think like the Rionia deck wants it?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah, I don't know.
Any deck that's trying to do combat shenanigans, like this is going to be real good in, I think.
Actually, Rionia doesn't give a shit because Rionia just makes tokens that have haste. It doesn't affect them.
I don't know. Just curious. Don't know.
Okay.
Monumental Henge. It's the white one. If you got a Plains, it's untapped. 4. Look at the top 5. Reveal a historic card. Put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom. It's a lot. You're paying 5 mana for it, but decks are playing Fomori Vault. I think more decks should be playing Fomori Vault. I think just having a land that could dig is not the worst thing in the world. And if you're mono white, you're probably looking for historic spells. Most of the white commanders have some sort of artifact or enchantment.
Tesher. It's a Tesher card, right?
Sure,
it's pretty good Tesher.
Who wants to talk about the best one, though? Shifting Woodland.
That's you, buddy. That's you, buddy. Go do it, Max. Go ahead.
Shifting Woodland. It's the green one. Enters tapped unless you control a forest. You can add a green. And by the way, first cycle in a long time where the green one is the best one.
Beseiju.
Okay, that's fair. Doesn't need to tap to activate. Has Delirium. Pay 2 green. Delirium means you need to have at least 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. But for 2 green, Shifting Woodland becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. This is at instant speed.
So good.
That is very important. I am able to crop rotation into this and say, cool, now it is a Void Honor. Now it is a Basalt Mullet. Now it's a Glenelender and I can sacrifice it and it comes back as a Shifting Woodland. Now it is my Hullbreaker Horror that you were able to kill. This does all of that. Also, if you're some other type of deck, cool. I'll pay 4 mana. This is now an Underworld Breach. I can repeatedly turn it into an Underworld Breach. Oh, I have counterspells in my graveyard. I can turn it into an Underworld Breach on your turn. This card is crazy. Yeah. This card is like absolutely fucking wild. And I just need to figure out how often it's coming into play tapped because I want
I think it's awesome. I think this card's awesome.
This is another Necrobloom card too. I think this is really good in Necrobloom.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit threshold like Delirium, I mean, like it was nothing. Like
it makes you want to play those. It has micro synergies with the Surveil lands. You know what I mean? Top deck tutors could put the thing in the graveyard. It's kind of cool. I think it's sweet.
I think Dargo Ikra is going to want this too.
It's just a good.
You're going to see it in.
It's a good ass card, dude. This thing could be a copy of Greater Good. land that is greater good. Think about that, Max P,
everything.
dude. That's insane.
Yeah, card's broken.
The ability to be any permanent, regardless of
any
mana
permanent,
cost, is wild. And funny enough, like it can also be. Let me reread it just to make sure I'm not misspeaking here. I believe it can also be any land. So you could turn this into a cradle or something if you.
You know what this card's missing though. All right,
what, Max?
It should be a forest.
Sure, it should be fetchable.
Should be fetchable.
All right, let's. Sure. I like that I can crop rot into it.
It should be a fetchable land, 100%.
I like that you can't keep a straight face while you say
that. But the next card can get it though. Next card can get it.
The next card can get it. This wasn't one I was sure if I should add, but I thought it was worthy.
It's fine.
You want to read it off? Saber?
It's Urza's Cave. It's add a colorless, 3 and tap it, sack it, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped and shuffle. So I mean it's a lot to pay, but it's a colorless land tutor. It brings it onto the battlefield. It's interesting. I don't know again what deck would play it, but man, it's a land tutor. It's not the worst.
Well, it's the only unconditional land tutor we've ever had that's on a land.
I believe that.
And I think that's what's relevant. So I think it's like if you're a deck that really fucking cares about Gaia's Cradle, this is a land slot that gets you.
I believe. Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I mean, I'm higher on these effects now. I'm higher on like Expedition Map than I ever was. I think lands matter. I think we're giving us better lands, and even the next land. What do you guys think of the next land?
This is my favorite land.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
All right. So this is Talon Gates of Madara.
Talon Gates.
Talon Gates. Talon Gates of Madara.
I think this card is trash.
It's so good. So it's a land, it's a gate. It says when Talon Gates of Madara enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature phases out. Tap it to add a colorless. Pay 1. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So it filters for 1. That's shit, but whatever. But then here's the ability that matters. You can pay 4. You put Talon Gates of Madara from your hand onto the battlefield. So in a way, it's like number 1, it ramps. So you pay 4 mana, you put a land on the battlefield for your next turn.
Sure.
That's its sort of fail state, worst case scenario, right? But more importantly than that is, you have a Grand Abolisher in play, and I can't interact with you. Okay, I'll pay 4 colorless and put this on the battlefield and phase out your Grand Abolisher. Right, now I can interact. It works really well with things like Florian, right? Where I am locked out by a Draneth Magistrate, and I just want to win the game, but I can't because the stupid Draneth Magistrate is there. Well, guess what? I can still play lands that I get with Florian, even through the Draneth. So I get that Talon Gates, I put it into play, and get rid of the Draneth, and now I can win the game. So it's a land that removes something that lets you win with a turbo deck. So it's really fucking good. It's also possible that it's good in Italian. I got to test it. Just the fact that it is very expensive, but it is colorless mana at least. It's something we can do at instant speed, so I'm gonna try it.
I think
if you're gonna tell me we can't play Thought Vessel because it's colorless, get that shit.
Does
out
Thought
here.
Vessel have an uncounter ability to get onto the battlefield and phase out a Grand Abolisher? What? I'm sorry,
I think these kind of like channel-like effects, these non-spell effects, are just like they play way better than they look. Like I think the first time somebody looked at like Touch a Spirit Realm, they're like, what? And then you're like, fuck, man, Touch Spirit Realm, yeah. Or like the Turtle Max. Like I'm sure people saw the Turtle and were like, what? And then it's like, wow, man.
Yes.
3's a lot, but 3 is right. It does the job. So I think this card, for that reason, could be good. I mean, it's hard to mess with. It's got huge blowout potential. I just think that it's less free in your deck than Otawara, which is just untapped blue land. That's the only thing I would say.
That's colorless lands are always a big hiccup for me because, sure, I played low color decks, right? Like, and low color decks have more of an inherent tolerance for colorless lands than a lot of other decks, but. I tend to build my decks pretty lean, pretty efficient. They don't have a lot of colorless pips. It's a lot of colored pips. And having your land only make colorless, I'm aware that this can filter into colored, but paying a mana to do that is bullshit in my opinion.
You're never gonna. You're probably never gonna do that. The reality is it's gonna be a situation where if you you're going to see it in opening hands. It's going to fuck up some mulligans. I mean, that's really what it's going to do at times. Sure. But it's also going to be a spell that gets around Grand Abolisher and at times, right?
What do you guys think about Horizon of Progress? I've heard a lot of people kind of interested in that.
It's an interesting card, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like we don't really have all the friendly colored Horizon lands, so it's like a reflecting pool Horizon land, right? I think that's what it is. But then it has this weird
terrain generator.
Yeah, where you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. It's not like nutso.
We don't have a lot of
that, again, the problem is that more and more in CDH, you're just not going to have a hand full of lands anymore. That's just not what you want. So most of the time, you're not going to be able to do this. I think it's interesting for Tameshi.
I was going to say
Tameshi probably wants this card.
I could see Tameshi.
Doesn't seem the worst. We should get.
I don't know, Max P. Are you cutting Mox Diamond soon? Where are you at?
It's not get crazy, dude. It's not get crazy.
Do you guys not think Sowing Myco was the only card I had on my list that you guys didn't? You guys think of that
what
card?
Was it?
Sowing Mycoloth or whatever. Sowing Myco Spawn.
Oh, Myco Spawn. It's Eldrazi. It's a green and 3. It's a Eldrazi fungus devoid kicker. You can pay an additional 1 and colorless. When you cast a spell, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
Untap.
When you cast a spell, if it was kicked, exile target land.
Yeah, it's just 4 mana, right? Like it's just.
It's also sorcery speed. Get a land, I think.
Untap though.
4 mana sorcery speed.
It's another one of those cards where if it said ETB, it would be more playable.
You could, I don't know. Again, I don't know. The kicker seems irrelevant, but I think sometimes tutoring. Getting a 3/3 body and then tutoring a cradle onto the battlefield, it's good. That cradle's going to tap for mana. It's pretty cool. Yeah, sure. The cradle's going to tap for a lot of mana, and it's untapped.
I think if it cost 1 less, it would be playable. But I think at 4, it's too much.
Yeah, give me 3 mana Sowing Myco Symphony.
Yeah, I'm not against it. It's just a card I thought we'd ask about. But
well, bro, sure. Man, thanks for joining us today, dude. This was fun as shit. It's such a cool set. Really going to be interesting to go look back on this in a month or two and look at how wrong we were or how right we were about some of these cards.
When you tell me that Flare of Denial is trash in Italian,
and everyone's playing Strix Serenade in every blue deck
I was gonna
across
say
the country.
Max and I have quit Magic because Strix Serenade has bullied us.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to come on the show by myself and be
sorry, my friend.
Wherever you are out there, I told you I was right. Yeah. But dude, it's such a pleasure to have you, man. Always fun to talk to you.
Love
dude.
you guys. It was fun.
Looking forward to seeing. Are you going to be at Cowtown?
I'll be at Cowtown. Right? Yeah. Be at Cowtown. I'll see you at Cowtown in Columbus. I will be at Fishbowl 4 in San Diego. And I want to do. I'll be at the Bufftown Bullies tournament for a dual land
up in Buffalo. Yeah.
In Buffalo. So Buffalo, San Diego, Columbus. Catch me at 1 or 2 other ones. I definitely going to be a fixture at these ones in Kings Court, Taunton, Mass. The guy Steve has got. It's a crazy shop, and it's a CDH shop. I've never been to one before. We're the focus is CDH. People come from Maine, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, New York. It's they come from all around New England, Northeast area to go there, and it's a big shop. It's comfortable. The guy is a Kinnan player. He's cool. It's a cool shop, and I'm not sponsored by this guy at all. It's just an awesome play experience, and the level of players is wild. It's all guys we know. Some of the best CDH players around are playing Magic there, so it's good to.
Sometimes Jorman's there, Ian's there, Snaz is there.
Snaz and his brother are there. Shout out to Duncan's there. Shout out to DJ Evamaya. Everyone plays there. There's a lot of good players. Guy who plays Blues Clues, Boston guy, really great beard. Eric DeVoe. Great. Eric DeVoe is an awesome Magic player. So a lot of those guys play there, and they're excellent Magic players. So.
Yeah. So and before we go to to close this thing out, just real quick, so you do talk about yourself a little bit. You do art, you do tokens, you do play mats, you do all these different things. You want to tell everybody about how do they find you? What kind of stuff do you do? And can people commission art?
Please do. Yeah, I love to draw. I love playing Magic. I think I'm a firm believer in that. Like, if you follow your talents and your passions, the ways in which like the universal intelligence is shining through you, like good things are gonna happen. Even if it's playing Magic, even if it's drawing, good things will happen. Like I'm living proof. I'm in a room right now, surrounded by like a shelf of my shirts, bunch of mailers on the wall, boxes of playmats. It's cool, man. I'm so busy and I love it. I draw playmats and stickers and illustrations for anyone who wants them. I've got some cool ones coming up. I think it's the first place I'll say out loud, but the new Play to Win playmat is mine that's coming out. It's wild. I've got some other really big ones coming out. I like to do all the ones for Eminence. Shout out to Zane, Mikey, and Mike. Those guys they hired me early, and they've taken good care of me and supported my artwork. And just shout out to the CDH community. Shout out to you guys, my friends, and like everyone who hits me up for artwork. It's like a total dream and a blessing. So thanks. Yeah. You want a card?
How should they reach you if
Twitter.
someone wanted to get something from you?
Yeah, Twitter, GoldSabertooth, Instagram, GoldSabertooth, and GoldSabertooth on Etsy. The Etsy store is blown up. I mean, I've had hundreds and hundreds of sales on Etsy. It's fun. My wife and I at night, we get out the mailers and we fill them out, stuff the packages, and send them out in the morning. It's awesome. It's a cool little cottage industry.
Links to all.
Oh yeah, we'll put links in here too. Yeah. Croc mat's coming out. I think by the time this video goes up, it might be sold out. But if it's by some miracle it's not, I'll save 5 for whoever's listening.
All right, awesome, man, awesome.
Well, thanks.
So this was a pleasure, dude. Good list as always, Max. Yeah. Good job. You want to take us out?
Nice work.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Colors of Crutch podcast. My name is Max Sternberg, also known as the Satellite, joined by my usual Florian-loving co-host, Max P, the Florian guy, joined by another awesome artistic human being, GoldSabertooth himself, Tim the Man. If you like our channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support us more, we've got a Patreon link in the description below. All sorts of fun tiers to check out. And if you want to join the conversation outside of YouTube, we have a Discord for you to join as well. Link in the description below. If you are interested in CDH coaching, that's something I offer and love doing. Please hit me up on Discord or Twitter, both as the Satellite, and we can set that up for you. Thank you guys so much for listening. I look forward to talking to you next time.